Ellen, welcome to Tear Off Your Skin. And I'm joined tonight by Crispy and Shauner. And subject of
Hello.
tonight is setting. And as you know, I'm the guy that say you should have like mundane game, mundane setting. But maybe those guys are gonna convince me otherwise. I know that, like especially one drive like Crispy on because he like riff, and I'm glad to have Shauner on because he also like to do those weirder setting. Like he's big into sci-fi and stuff like that. So we're gonna talk. Maybe you're gonna convince me that I'm wrong about just like you should just role play your 9 to 5 job, not yours, but somebody
What?
else.
It's my work job. Yeah,
Yeah,
role
but
play
not
is work
yours because you
apparently.
don't want to role play yourself, but like some guy 9 to 5 job.
We're role playing mowing the lawn and
Yeah, exactly.
When I
small
when I
talk
did
with the neighbor.
when I ran GURPS games, I did that. I let the players just play themselves. If they were, if she was a waitress in real life, she'd be a waitress in the game. It's like
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Yeah, no,
And
I
then
think like
make them roll for everything.
maybe it's just interesting for me because like I'm a guy that don't have a job or stuff like that. So like, oh what, I can role play somebody with a that's doing something with his life.
You're
It's a
billionaire,
productive member of
playboy,
society.
philanthropist.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I
Tony
don't know if I want to
Stark.
play a role play a full-on rapist, but let's say hi to the chat. Hello, Zanalar that was lurking earlier. I guess he's still here. And Squat Bench Deadlift. Hello, and Nicholas. We're talking also like I'm not saying hi, how you doing because like you know it is. We're talking before the show. That's why we're a bit late. We're talking about candies.
I'm watching their videos before the show.
Oh yeah. My video?
No,
Nicholas has a
Oh,
tweaker.
Nicholas video. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I haven't
started
taught it yet, but I intend to.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
I started it.
They're playing Numenera, which I would argue you can't role play in. Shots fired.
If Rick join us later on, like he got the link as well, like we can talk about it as well because like Numenera is like it's a game that turned me off because I don't like the setting. It's really like the setting.
Takes place in the 1000th century.
Yeah, I also don't like the creator of the game, so that's also like but that's a different topic.
Yeah, after 15 years, I kind of
Monty Cook,
and his lady friend.
Yeah.
After 15 years, I kind of forgive, but then I'll see a video of them on YouTube. Just it's like, oh, that's why I don't.
Well, there need to be like contrition for forgiveness. Anyway, can you role play in Pathfinder? Oh,
I don't know.
Yes, as long as you don't grab with the system.
Tyler says yes.
Tyler says yes. I played Pathfinder first edition for probably 10 years straight with no interruptions.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure I could role play in that system like I could in
no,
others.
I think you can role play in anything. Like
yes, you can.
But there's just like some system get in the way under the role play and some setting under the role play. We're not saying like it's impossible.
Well, Pathfinder, you can't just remove something from the game.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to remove something from it. Again, for what it is, it does what it claims that it sets out to do. It does it reasonably well. But the problem I have is that the mechanics of the system are difficult to remove.
Yep.
You have to have a bit of this meta talk at the table. My swift actions, my immediate reaction,
attack of opportunity,
and my attack of opportunity. I'm using this feat. I have to list off for myself even how I'm getting all these modifiers and they apply, and then I'm going to do this tactically. And so that is going to apply this modifier. And then I'm going to do this. And then remember, you can do this because I'm doing this. And so I'm giving you a modifier. It's just a lot of out of character talk.
Yeah. And
maybe Tyler's figured it out.
It's a very like tactical minded game, right? It's a game that push you into, now there's combat. So now we're going to step out of character, look from up
World of Warcraft.
I played it for a decade and without any interruption, and weekly we did it. But I don't know. I still have my books. Maybe one day we'll convince Tyler to say, okay, run us through a Pathfinder game. We're gonna do role play only.
Level 1, no feats.
Level 1 fighter.
No spells.
Oh yeah, Doodle Squatch is already he's ninja your argument
No
Exactly.
modifiers.
Time for another episode of Only Play Human. And now, like,
Hey.
actually, like, Only Play Human was like 2 weeks ago. Now we're talking like Only Play in historical mundane setting. Only Play Human in historical mundane setting.
Hey, Doodle Squatch, your avatar, that's from a science fiction series, isn't it? Like there is a I remember seeing these novels where there was giant cats kind of versus the human empire. Can
Already.
you type in what were those books? I'm curious. Like who I recognize because I can just make out the star on the bottom left corner from the novel. Like I think that was book art that he was using.
Maybe.
Anyway, just curious.
Now with 5e, if you strip out rules from 5e so that you can role play in the game, you end up with AD&D second edition.
So why not just go there? Like just
go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You said the Mankini War.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the men Xinti. I don't know how to say it.
Is that known space stuff from the what's the guy's name? Larry Niven? No, what's his name? The guy who did Ringworld.
Larry Niven?
I think his name's Larry Niven.
Isn't Larry Niven that wrote that? Anyway, it's kind of sorry, it's a tangent.
He had Kazintis in his known space books.
Okay.
I got time.
Him and that Purnell guy.
I don't want to rush also getting
yeah.
into the topic too much because like we leave time for people to join, right? That's the point.
Yeah,
of
that's
well.
good. I'm not good at this. You're better at. You've done many more of these. I think it's Larry Purnell that you're thinking of. Purnell,
Jerry.
Is it Jerry or Larry?
I think it's Jerry.
I can't remember. You're probably right, but I know I can picture the last name on books. But anyway.
So setting.
Yes.
There you go.
Speaking of which, there's a setting right there.
There's a setting right there, right? And for me, like my argument, which I'm gonna make, and then you can tell me how wrong I am, or like if I'm missing something, or if I just lack imagination, maybe. But my argument is always if you keep the setting mundane, if you keep the setting easy to explain, you say like it's like X but Y. You know, you can say like, or you use the trope that people are familiar with. Or you can use, it doesn't have to be like necessarily mundane. If you have players that are very familiar with this fantasy or science fiction setting, right? They're big fan of like Star Wars. You can say, well, you're going to play in the Star Wars world.
Mm-hmm.
And then people can make assumption about the setting and it gets out of the way. You don't have to, like, they're not afraid to add something to the setting that's going to break it because they understand the setting. They're not afraid they don't have to ask question about like, well, does that exist in that world? You know, they can just make assumption. They have like, we have common understanding. You don't have to give them lore dump. You don't have to let them read the Bible before they start.
Right.
You can, and also like in that, like I'm a big fan of historical setting, but even that I say like it doesn't matter if like it's not accurately historical. Sometimes you're better off like using people's understanding of history. Like people have understanding of history is shit. Right? People don't know history much. Right. But if you play a game that's sometimes that's good enough, don't correct them. Well, actually, in medieval time, thing will work like that. Like it doesn't fucking matter most of the time, right? You're gonna arm the game more. So that's usually my point about settings. Your setting sucks, right? Like I often say, for me, like a role-playing game are at their best when it's an exploration of the human condition. When you get like something that is relatable to a world that is relatable to. They can be a variant, right? Oh, but we're in the future, far, close, or in the past, and there's a change to the world. One change, one something, and then you can think what life would be like in that setting. That would be like something we know, but with that one change, right? So that's what I'm a proponent of, right? And I think like those people that try to make those very unique and interesting setting, for me, like the setting is not the star of the show. Characters are. And when you try to make this unique and very different setting, you're taking the focus away from the character and it's not worth it. You're just gonna make like more, you're just gonna put an hurdle, like a lot of hurdle in the way of role play. It's not gonna be worth the juice. It's not worth the squeeze.
So your settings are not the center of the universe, the center of the game, and
They are
players
the
just
setting or
cardboard.
background for the character to evolve in. They're not the star of the show.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that if the setting is too noisy, too loud,
Yeah.
then it distracts from the characters themselves.
Yes, and that's a mistake we see a lot, like with the mediocre or like less than mediocre, I guess,
Mhm.
fantasy or sci-fi writer, right? When they do a lot of world building, they create this like fantastical, like very interesting setting that they're very proud of,
Mhm.
and then they throw in a story in there, but like the character just become like an
A
excuse to show off
tourist.
the setting, right?
Oh,
Exactly.
so you're talking about Rebel Moon, right? The thing
I
on
haven't I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. I don't watch movies.
yeah. Well, I got 10 minutes into it and that was enough for me.
Yeah, I
But
assume that's
so
probably
the
what
where
I
the
would do.
setting is where so if I don't want to paraphrase you incorrectly, Max, you're saying that it's better to use a shortcut to just get the setting over and done with
Yeah.
and then focus on the you had used a I like this expression, the exploration of the human condition is what you said.
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think like there's some setting that do that pretty well. Like you know, if you go like you can always go to the past because the past is a different country.
Mhm.
So, you know, you can go
Mhm.
like, and then you can. That's an experience. You can experience something there that's interesting. Like okay,
Mhm.
this character, and you can add fantasy to it.
Mhm.
Don't go overboard with it because otherwise, if you go overboard with fantasy, and the fantastical element are everywhere, they become mundane. So you also kill the fantasy there. And or you can go in the future and
Mhm.
there's still like exploration of the human condition, like okay, there are people, but now we have all this new technology, and how do we then impact the way that we live, the way that we
Right.
love, the way that we think, the way that we, those kind of questions.
Mhm.
Also like a setting like a World of Darkness do a good job. I think the system didn't support that, but because like it was the modern day. Mm, and but now like you just
What
like,
was
oh, you
that
just been
game?
turned into a vampire.
Was World of Darkness slightly in the future, or was it current day when it came out?
It was current day when it came out.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's it's already you have a setting that is familiar to everyone because it's like your everyday life, and you can even like set the game in your own city or a city you're familiar with if you
Yeah,
want,
it's
right?
like
It doesn't
there's
matter.
like 80 different
Yeah.
cities you could play in.
Yeah. And you can always like just take like a map of your town and do, okay, we're doing that now,
Oh yeah,
right?
Google Earth works great for that. It's
Well, that didn't
fantastic.
exist back
Yeah,
then, but
back then we used
Oh right,
back then
of
we
course.
we
we
had
used
paper
Terra's
maps.
And
server.
now it works.
Yeah. But and because like traditionally when you start a campaign, like when you're first playing a vampire, you play like a new character
Mhm.
that has just been turned into a vampire. So and he's learning about this world as well. So that's also a thing, like you can like it's kind of the isekai thing. You come from another world, and so now you solve the problem of like the disparity between the what the player know and what the character know. You don't have to give them lore dumb because your character don't know how this world work anyway. You're gonna learn
Okay.
with your character. So that's also, I think, that's a shortcut you can take as well.
That's how I
And
do it.
yeah, and you can do the
But
same thing
that
if you
could
want to do like sci-fi. Oh, you've just woken up for 500 years of cryo
Mhm.
sleep,
Mhm.
right? And then like you're lost in the world, but your character is as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
When
you could
you
be on another planet too when you wake up, so you don't know that place either.
Yeah.
when you had started off by saying it's like X but Y.
Yeah.
What is the limit of what you can change for this Y to X before
I
it
know this one.
is no longer uh, a mundane, relatable. Do you understand my question, Max? Like
Yes.
I'm so. Can you give us some examples of what would be an appropriate change? Because what I'm imagining is, oh, it's just like now, except magic is real. That's too much of a change.
That's
So
too much.
what
Sure.
are the parameters or is that an appropriate thing? Have you changed one thing? How do you determine if it's one thing or too many things?
Like it depends. You can say like magic is real, but it's recently real. Like magic just got
Okay.
awakened. Because if you say magic is real and it's always been real, then well, that would change the whole fucking world, right? That would change like. But if like just like in the last 5 year, people figure out like that magic was a thing and they can
Mhm.
make spell, and now like discovering it, then you can have like the current world that we understand and know, but now you have this but why element, right? So yeah, is it too much? It depends how you go about it. But yes,
Or
there's
the magic was banned for a century. It's against law to use magic, but now the politics or whatever saying, okay, we're going to start allowing magic again.
Yeah.
And that's when the game starts.
But you had an answer, Sean, or two about like when the but why is too much.
Oh, did you guys ever see that hokey TV movie called Genesis 2?
No.
In the 70s? No. Okay, well, in the future, girls have 2 belly buttons.
They have 2 umbilical cords in the womb?
2 belly buttons. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. They're born in test tubes.
Oh,
really?
Okay.
And they have, they show these hot chicks with bathing suits and they have 2 belly buttons. That's the future, man. So that's, it was one of those Gene Roddenberry pilot shows that never took off.
Right.
With John Saxton. He was in a lot of those things. It was basically Earth, 3,000 years from now. So humans have evolved. They still look human. They still act human. They're kind of logical like Vulcans, but they have 2 belly buttons. So that's not too much of a change when you're doing a lore dump on somebody and a player who's in that setting. I think there is an RPG public domain for that TV show.
Oh, really? But like having 2 belly button would like that's not like earth shattering kind of change.
No, it's
right?
not. No.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say, Max, that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
I mean, now back then, no one had tattoos or face piercings. Now we got that crap everywhere.
Yeah.
Is that too much of a change in real life?
Yes, it is.
No,
that's now. That was the future. It's now. What's the next
mistake.
future going to be? What next are humans going to be doing to themselves? Implants, like in Cyber?
That started already, right?
I had another question for you as I tried to understand more your perspective, Max, that we should really be playing in mundane or close to mundane. Mundane meaning relatable to the human condition as we experience it. Is that a fair definition of mundane? How would you define mundane?
Something that is relatable to what we've experienced as a species, right?
Okay.
Or will experience as a species.
So if it's
common
something
knowledge?
that's common knowledge, it's relatable. You don't need a whole bunch of, you don't have to read chapters and chapters of actually werewolves and vampires have existed forever and you just didn't know about it. Is it fair to say that your aim then, by limiting the change of the setting to maybe 1 or 2 things, is to permit a greater exploration of that change and what the impact of that is? So there's not a whole bunch of things that have changed all at once. It's just this one thing, and we're going to explore that in greater depth.
Yes,
is that fair?
I think that's a good point. That's a fair point to make, because sometimes you see like people make those gonzo setting, and then you start thinking about it, and it doesn't take too long that you realize that all those like there's all those things that have been changed, and they haven't been accounted for. And then like you start thinking about it and say like, man, now like I've been thinking about it for 15 minutes, and I realized that maybe longer than you thought about it, right? You thought about that setting before giving it to me, right? Like, because you got all those like plot holes that don't make sense and hasn't been explained, or hasn't been like all those like those circle hasn't been squared or something like that, right?
Something like trying to apply economic principles to a Dungeons and Dragons game, and you're like, this is breaking down very much, very quickly. This is not working.
Like all the setting of like, and like, just the thing, like, like, oh, you have those elves and dwarves and human all living together and city together, like, and there's no accounting for that. Like, how people like then it just makes that your people, you make so much change that are not accounted for, that your people don't act like people anymore. And for me, that's one, like mundane, that's something that's very important. Like, people should act like people, because that's what we relate to. We relate to people. If you make like all this crazy stuff and people like are just like, then how can you role play that? Like, no, everything goes, like, you don't have character anymore. You just have like those people, like they're just like NPC fitting function, right? And there's like, one thing I wanted to say about the mundane thing. Sorry?
Mel Gibson in Road Warrior 2. He's
Yeah.
just the regular guy,
Yeah,
and
it's
we
the point of
see the
view.
world through his eyes.
Yeah,
Everyone else is gonzo, crazy.
that's tourism. Yeah, that's that's a character that's there to show you the world. And in the
Yeah.
last one, not the one that is 3 years out now, but the one I don't know if it's out yet, but like anyway, like the one what's it, Fury Road, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's very the point. Like man, like it's just like tourism. It's just like oh, we just
Yeah,
have this character. We're gonna show you. Like I
he's
hate
just
this
a
movie.
guy. He's just you see the whole movie from his point of view.
Yeah, he's not a protagonist.
He's a spectator.
Yeah, he's exactly. He's an exposition machine, right?
Mhm.
But like, what I want to say about mundane as well, like if I was to propose you, oh, we're gonna do a game in set in 13th century Kyrgyzstan,
Mhm.
like even though that's like historical and on
I'd
Earth
have
and
to
stuff like that,
read. I'd have
that's
to
not
go to.
mundane because we're not
I'd have
familiar
to-
with exactly.
We're not familiar.
I'd
So
have to
so
Goo-
mundane is
Google it
really
and read some stuff.
it's yeah. So obviously, Sean and I would have to bone up on our
In
Yeah,
mundane times, would I
Kyrgyzstani.
believe in witches? Would I be after witches
Yeah.
trying to burn them and stuff?
And then
We
we
don't
have,
know
we
what's
have to,
happening
it
in
would
that
be
part
more
of
of a
the world.
challenge. I mean, I'm up for the challenge if you're offering, Max.
I don't know
There's
nothing about that. It's just an
the
example.
challenge, but it's a nice challenge to have. I'm like, okay, well, let's stretch a little bit. Try to imagine yourself living in the, in medieval times, or you're crusaders. Like, what is important? What's driving you? You're on, you're serving alongside, Saint Louis and his crusade. And what does that look like? And what are you thinking about? And what's important to you? And what's your family think about it? And what do your friends think about it? That would be a real challenge. It's certainly not mundane.
There wouldn't like it's mundane in the sense that there would still be human being, so we could make assumption about all the era. But I
Sure.
don't know nothing about that fucking place and time, right? Like well, I know about 13th century, but not in that region of the world, right? I don't know what's happening there. I just took that as an example of something that would be probably arcane for most people.
Mhm.
But
I'd have to open up the History Channel DVDs I got and start watching them.
did they even make like documentary about Kyrgyzstan? Just like
Oprah.
Well,
But,
that era, maybe not that specific
that
location,
era.
but that time.
Yeah. But that's the point, right? It's like we don't have assumption to make about that thing. If we have if you have motivated player, we could go and read about what was happening in that period, and that could be interesting to explore.
Right.
And again, those would be people, those would be human beings. So we can read about what's happening, and we understand human psychology to some extent. So we can make like, oh, okay, I see this happen, but people probably reacted that way, right? Just like people understood that end of the world. There was a plague.
We
or
know so
whatever.
much about the Egyptians because they wrote everything down on the walls.
with great
But
pictures.
the Britons didn't write anything down except scribble on some rocks, maybe.
And even then, also, like there's a lot we don't know about the Egyptian as well, or a lot of things we think we know, but are not accurate.
Yeah, we don't have all their history.
If you play a game that doesn't matter, so that's what I was saying. It doesn't matter, right? You just go with the common understanding.
So if you're going by the common understanding as a definition for mundane, and I'm not trying to trap you here, Max. I just want to understand your perspective. Would it be fair because you did say that you like to reuse tropes, like so shortcuts, a heuristic, like we're going to use this to just avoid an exposition dump. It's like this. If it's something that is a trope that is well enough understood, like let's say post-apocalyptic, would that make it possible then for a mundane post-apocalyptic game if that understanding of what post-apocalyptic is well enough or commonly understood? Again, mundane, commonly understood.
You could have like a post-apocalyptic game, but you have to take it like to make it like sensible to some extent, right? You go back to this, it's X but Y, so you can say like, well, it was like our world, but there's been a nuclear war, and now we're in that thing, right? So you have this is the but Y, and
Did
then
you
can
guys see The Road?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've seen that one.
Them just walking through Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That was mundane ruins.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that
To them,
that exists today.
To the characters, this is just a mundane setting to them. It's
Film
just
on location.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, so Sean, are you saying then that from the character's perspective, every setting is by definition mundane because they live in it?
Well, like Napoleon goes to Egypt or Cairo or whatever, they're shooting cannonballs at the Sphinx.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's asking the Egyptians who built
Never
this.
happened,
Where's
but yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a myth.
no? Someone used it as target practice.
Yeah.
Maybe not him exactly, but
yeah, unlikely him.
they're
He
asking.
was Napoleon was very impressed by the fun fact. When I was living in Paris, I was living on Rue du Caire, so Cairo Street, and
Mhm.
all the whole street was it was because of the time Napoleon. It was all like decorated with Egyptian motif.
Mhm.
Very
It could
nice.
happen during World War One.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but the Napoleon was asking them who built this, what's it for, and no one knew
No
Yeah.
one knew.
because
That's
they're
right.
not the same Egyptians that were around when
No.
the Sphinx was put together.
That's right.
They just say
they're
it's
not actually the
always-
same
it's
people
always
that are
been
there. The
Yeah, and
people that
they-
are there now aren't the original Egyptians.
It was just a head in the sand to them. You know, they didn't know it was a whole body underneath there.
Mhm.
No, yeah. Couldn't read the language that was left. It was, yeah. They
Yep.
were different people.
So to them, it's just an ordinary world.
But my thinking is that if you're playing it in a setting, that setting, whatever it is, let's say it's like now, except it's 300 years in the future. So it's
Yep.
you project out. Now, futurists have a notorious track record for getting things wrong. Like they're
Yes.
usually wrong. So at what point, Max, does the because you're saying that it really is important to have this common understanding so that you can allow assumptions. This idea that your assumptions can more often than not be right because of the trope or the heuristics that we're using, the shortcuts that we're using to establish the setting.
I think like oftentimes what we see is like people say, oh, it's like X but Y and Z and then alpha and beta and they keep
Mhm.
building up on stuff like that, and that's like
Comes
where
too
like
much.
that
Mhm.
becomes too much and things becomes goofy, things
Mhm.
become gonzo, right?
Mhm.
Because you always want to add this other cool idea, right? You have like it's fun. You have
I'll
the
mix
cool
two.
idea.
I mix two genres, but not three.
Yeah, we'll talk
You know,
about
like
that later.
Cthulhu Western. You know,
Yeah.
but not Cthulhu Western. You know, D&D.
At a certain point, it becomes too much. Then, like, why not three? Does it become a 3-body problem?
Can
It's
you-
unsolvable?
can you put three genres together, three totally different genres together, and it seems mundane still?
Space Western horror.
Yes, that worked. But space western is almost like one genre.
33% of each one. Or,
Yeah, like could you do it?
That's a funny one, like because
so Lost in Space horror.
Mm-hmm.
I would posit
Western.
that horror
I
is
mean,
not a genre.
Gonzo. To me, that's Gonzo.
First of all, I would posit that horror is not a genre. Horror is a tone.
Okay. So that's a tone thing. Okay.
That's a tone. And
That's true.
Secondly, space western, I wouldn't say it's two genre. It's one because we're so used to it, right? It's Firefly, it's Cowboy Bebop, it's all those. Like we've seen so much of it that it's
we're used to it.
Own, yeah, exactly. It become this own thing, right?
Okay.
It's its own genre.
It's not a mix of space and western. It's space western, like right. Like so, I would agree. So then, if you want to add,
so then really, it's not so much Gonzo as that it's just it's been done so often that we can now figure out.
Now
okay,
we're familiar with it.
We can start making assumptions because we've seen enough of it. Okay.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Or Warhammer, 40K.
And Rawanto.
The
exactly.
What's that one FSG game? It's not the only war. It's not the Rogue Trader. It's not the what is it called? Oh, Dark Heresy.
Yeah,
Dark Heresy is enough genre in there to not mess it up by adding something else. It already has enough stuff in there. I think it's already overloaded setting.
And you see like a thing like a 40K, right? Because Dark Heresy is a 40K game. If you do the 40K game, that's very weird, and that's, I wouldn't say quite gonzo, because like there's like a unified aesthetic and there's like a common thing going on.
It's got gothic architectural space design.
Yeah, But if you
Mm.
play 40K, you're with people that are into 40K most likely, and that know the lore already. So that again goes into the right. Okay, we can play this weird setting, but you have people that are invested in the lore already, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, like with Star Trek, the same
There,
thing.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to
So
look at
it's
some of the comments in the chat if you don't mind.
oh yeah, no, yeah. There's probably
Yeah,
lots.
there's
They're
another
probably
say
calling me out. Why do you have this idiot on here? Yeah, I know. Sorry.
no. XCOM is Earth, but aliens have invaded and taken over the government. So that's like just regular life. You're playing the resistance.
Yeah, that's right. It's those
Yeah,
Puppet
lizards, the lizard
Masters.
people again.
yeah, but that's again that's X. It's like Earth. It's our current day Earth, or slightly in the future. But why, right? That
Well,
XCOM we
in
get
the
into that.
50s, there were space invasion films,
Yeah,
and then there would be the lizard people would be the aliens, and then on Earth you have vampires
yeah. And
going on.
now you're going into the Gonzo if you had the vampire thing. But if you just do like you can do one or the other. That's my point. Like because now you just become like, well, okay, now like there's those two things going on, and why do we need both? Because you have enough. If you just had the one element, you have enough to explore there. You have enough to play. You have enough like juice. If you like, at some point, if you add all the spice to your broth, right, everything's gonna taste the same all the time, right? Just like,
Is
That's
Wizard of
true.
Oz
That's
Gonzo?
yeah, that's true.
and
Because
we
it's
say
got
also time like
witches.
sorry,
Wizard of Oz, is that Gonzo? It's got witches. It's got
yes,
flying monkeys.
it's getting there. It's getting
Yeah,
there.
and
Wizard of Oz.
the actual wizard himself is more
Yeah,
of a technologist.
yeah,
And it has the Great Depression.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah. That's the whole thing.
and
But
it's a coming of age story, and yeah.
yeah, the Tin Man, like
Hmm.
why is it like everything
Just
goes right?
magic.
You
Hmm.
want something, you just add it, right? But
Yeah, there's a Tin Man just walking around. What's that about?
when we say in music, like in jazz, right, the breaks or note as well, right?
Yeah, pauses are the note.
Pause
Yeah,
or
the
note, yeah,
silence is a note too. Hmm.
the silence is a note as well, right? So
Hmm.
you also have to think like to know like
Hmm.
when people say like you have to listen to the note that are not played, right? You don't try
Yes,
to fill the whole, like the same thing when you design the setting. I think
it's the negative space. The
yeah,
negative space is important
you
too.
have to leave some place for just
Sure.
like breathe and stuff like that. If you try to add too much, it just become noise and dissonance.
Yeah, I agree. Too much all at the same time is just wildly dilutive to the point where it's either way too bland or it's just completely inedible.
A
Yeah,
contemporary
But
modern orchestra. I can't stand that music.
experimentation, taking the recipe and adding a different thing and then
yeah,
trying at something else and adding at
yeah.
something else, that's I like that. I like the idea that yeah, you don't have to change everything all at once. But
When I
if
was
there's the opportunity, you can
Oriana Skotsky.
try many different things and
when I
maybe
was
stumble across something that's quite
I was working
interesting.
in a kitchen at some point, right? And the chef was about to take vacation, and he came to me and said, "You're gonna be one replacing me." And I said, "I can do that. Like I can cook a bit, but like I cannot replace you." I say, "Well, that's easy. Here's the book of recipe. You follow them, but you change one thing. If you're not
Mhm,
changing one thing, you're not cooking. So you just follow the
mhm,
recipe and you just change one thing. Don't try to change two. Just
mhm,
change one."
mhm.
Put
And then,
sugar instead of salt.
well,
Yeah, there you go.
why not, right?
I'm a chef now. Gosh,
Yeah.
cooking's easy.
Exactly, but that's the idea, right? Just like if
Mhm,
you try to change too much, then you're gonna, and then also like you don't know, like, oh no, it went wrong, well it tasted like shit. Well, you changed too much at the same time. Like try to figure out why.
Some
mhm.
people like cilantro on everything.
Yeah, we call it coriander. How can I role play in the current day world if I'm in need? Well, it's easy.
What's
You
a
role play
need?
somebody with a somebody that is like me, somebody that's not in employment, and
Oh, okay,
not in employment,
At the
education, or
moment.
training.
At time.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So you play somebody that yeah, like I said, that is a productive member of the society for some reason. The mundane world makes an encounter with a monster more impactful. That's very true. The PC are crapping their pants when the real giant turns out to be real. Yeah, and that's also something we say
Mhm.
like about the understanding of the PC and stuff like that, right? Sometimes like you keep the fantastical fantastic. Like they maybe they admit about it, but they never saw. a manticore, and then at some point they go out in the world and they meet one and say, "Oh shit, man, that thing is real." Right?
Well,
That's
lately I've been doing practice sessions for people wanting to try out the 4D stuff, and I ask them what kind of setting. I let the players decide pretty much what the setting is and what their characters are going to be, and they don't know where they can go. Like, what's the limit? And I'll say, well, think of something mundane, but then we'll add a current event that rustled the feathers, messed up the
that's
setting
very
a bit.
important. Yeah. So the piece need to be
So,
disturbed.
so there's some there's some mystery. Instead of just going to the library like you do every day, the library is still there, but it's it's
full of
a big
crackhead.
giant crater, or
Oh no, that's not current day.
that piece of ground lifted up and it's hovering in the air, and that's where your mailbox is to something like that.
Mm. Yeah.
No one can explain why a piece of the city is floating in the air. It don't matter because it's just a practice session.
There's also the topic of how does magic work, but that's again the thing. Maybe nobody knows. Maybe like people haven't figured it out. At some point, it just worked now, right? Just like you had those like cringy like a Tumblr witch that was working.
The Chronicles of Shannara. I was watching that on MTV back in the day. I liked it. I guess it came from a young adult series of books or something.
Yeah.
But they explain how all the elves and orcs and everything came from humans.
Yeah.
There was like a nuclear war and humans mutated. Some people lived in the ground. They became the dwarves. The orcs did their thing. Then you got the elf types.
Yeah, that's again like a thing like
they're still on Earth, but everything has a different name. They don't call New York anymore, but the skyscrapers are still there.
That's again a setting like, we're like a million years in the future or whatever, right? And just like
yeah, kind of like
people have technology, but they think it's magic.
Book of the New Sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't remember how many if it is a million years in the future, but there's still cars in the street.
Oh,
they don't run.
Yeah.
But the cars are all rusted and
no
windows left.
The reason I hate the trope of like, it's like people think it's magic, but it's actually old technology that people forget how to like. I hate that because like people would figure it out, right? That's again like something that I don't think it's believable, right? Just like, I'm using this magic device.
It usually is. It's not just people are just lazy and can't figure it out. Usually they, like in the case of Numenera, there's underlying things, or in Worlds Without Number, same thing. There's underlying parts of the world that make the exploration of that thing pointless. So that they have to have some, if they're going to go with it's magic, but it's really just technology that's been forgotten, there has to be some reason why. And most of the settings do give that some lip service. They'll say things like, in different parts of the world at random times, this science won't work. The laws of physics have been so twisted that you cannot rely on them. And since you cannot rely on them, you can't replicate a function reliably. And without that replica, without being able to test something, theorize and test it, then your underlying understanding of it can never progress because you're unable to test a hypothesis. That's what Crawford does in his Worlds Without Number.
Have you guys run games where the laws of physics have changed?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
how did the players keep up with all the changes, or were they part of the changes? They knew the changes.
What kind of change do you make too?
Like for me, it becomes a fever dream because the players are still thinking in terms of this is not normal, even if their characters have been born in this physical changed world. The players are still, new to the hobby, and they're still thinking, well, this is new to me. What's going on? Like the library floating in the air. That would be a change of physics.
Yes.
And it's not explained. You just go along about your business, drive around the crater. The streets are obviously gone. You got to drive around the crater if you're still going to work.
I thought you meant like something like, the speed of light is doubled.
It becomes a fever dream.
It's like the modern
the
day,
players are the players are thinking
doubled.
it's like
okay.
I mean, in Star Trek, they can change the speed of radio signals super fast so they can talk back to Earth from light years away in real time.
Yeah.
They don't explain how, but It's just a given. Yeah, eventually the players are in a fever dream. They don't know what ends up, what end is up anymore.
Yeah. Crispy, you wanted to tell us about your game that changed the law of physics? What did you change?
Wasn't it was more of an, like, I would change the law of physics in a room, or I'd I would do something like that, and then I wouldn't try to explain it. I'd just say this is what you're interacting with this, and
that's not like a world with the law of physics change. It's almost like like magic or something supernatural happening or something unexplained. It's not like.
But I would certainly like. I don't know if the video game is any good. It probably isn't. There's a video game where time advances when it rains.
Oh, really?
So when it rains, time advances very quickly. If you're caught out in the rain, then that's the only change, right? So it's like now, except
is that the game with the girl, the black hair?
It's a game with like they had to have little kids or like baby in the backpack. Death Stranding, that's it there.
Oh, Death Stranding. Oh,
but I like the idea that you'd make this one change and then you explore all of the ramifications of that. That's in keeping with what you've been saying about the settings you like. Like, okay, we're going to make this one change and then we're going to explore what that change means for the human condition.
And that's also the thing, right? If you make one change, you can dive deep into that one change.
Sure, you
if
can.
You make like 1,000 change, then like it's all going to be surface level.
Yeah, that's true. It'll probably be more superficial. Yeah. That's true.
Or change something. Just change one thing. That water doesn't have gravity, so if you spill water in the air, the water just stays in the air. It's a blob. Doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe the wind blows it.
And how would that impact how people live their life?
We would have gills.
You have a swimming pool that's now empty because all the water's in the air floating around.
Well, you'd never have rain.
Like no rain.
No, because there'd be nothing to pull it down.
Well, the rain would just stop somewhere above.
There would be no waterfall.
No.
So that'd be like a
you
desert
turn on the faucet.
All the water is up there. Is there still evaporation?
The water comes out of the hose, but it doesn't fall on the ground.
Yeah, you just keep going like forever, right? And there's
there's worse things.
It doesn't go follow the curve of the earth. You just like
water's kind of a basic. Water and fire; those are basic things.
Give all my counter arguments.
But you guys know about the Cat's Cradle?
Yeah. No.
What is Cat's Cradle? The book?
Oh no, I was thinking of something else.
They talk about Ice 9. That's when something happened to the water and it becomes super dense, like steel.
Yeah.
And if you touch it, your fingertips turn into steel. If you drink it, your whole body turns to steel.
Can you survive that?
And it's spreading. The whatever's in the water is spreading throughout the water supply. And eventually there's no water left on Earth. It's
I wanted
just hard
to address this comment by Rick there. You see, like, this is why Session 0 with brainstorming microscope style is K. We get the known out of the way. And I think that's a good way to do it, because like then give license to the player, like, because we define together the world, it give license to the player to extrapolate on that and make assumption on it, because like there's no it's not like the GM world we created together and stuff like that. So there's no like, oh, I don't want to step on what the GM thought of, right? And you don't.
That's too much work.
What?
Too much work. Session 0s are too much work. The DM should be the one prepping. The players don't have to do any work. The GM's supposed to do all the work.
Who's there? Who's that guy?
Who's this guy? Who is this? Kick him quick. He's playing devil's advocate. I can tell.
I kick you.
Yeah.
Zed say Marvel movie is example for horrible setting. Magic has always been real. It impacted the multiverse, but changing nothing about. Yeah, exactly. Like, just like, oh yeah, there's all superhero around, but like then people go about their life like like that.
So Mary Jane is still going to her model session down the street, on Fifth Avenue.
I'm going to guess that Zonalar doesn't like Harry Potter, because that's exactly Harry Potter.
Central Park is still Central Park.
Yeah, Harry Potter, at least, like, it's kind of like the magic world is kind of hidden supposedly, and for some reason, like, I don't know, like, do they explain why? I don't know. I'm not an expert on it.
I'm not either.
No, Stanley kept his portholes closed, so things were always on the other side of the porthole. Otherwise, you'd have magic and stuff bleeding into New York City all the time.
But he has
But he
magic
has.
characters too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go into those portals and they
'Cause-
come back.
Doctor Strange is magic.
Yeah. And Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that's just magic.
Or they use their powers to keep all the
Right.
portals and dimensions closed so that Earth is safe.
Right. Right.
Like the Silver Surfer, for the longest time, he couldn't leave Earth because Galactus had put a barrier around the Earth that only
Yeah, he
he
locked
could not
him
pass
there.
through.
Yep.
Mm.
He was Galactus's herald, but he got punished and had to stay on Earth. I think that was just so that they could introduce him to other Marvel characters. And Silver Surfer is way better when he's not anywhere near Earth. It's just a better character. It's more interesting.
Silver Surfer was one character that I like. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan of superhero,
but I love Silver Surfer.
I like this one because like there was like this human condition kind of like
there's Norrin Rad that sacrificed everything, right, to try to protect the woman he loved and by extension his people,
world.
But it was really all about a woman. Yeah, I love.
I like superheroes that can be killed.
But like with Silver Surfer, that's almost like they went the other way with that. Like it is super powerful. Basically, like nobody can harm him. And when he had his memory blank, he caused all this harm. And now he got back his memory, and he know that he caused all this harm, and people hate him. And he's trying to make up for it, or like something, like it's like all this dealing with this guilt, right, and stuff like that, and that's interesting.
Do you remember when Thor lost his powers in the comics, and he's just working in New York City as a blue collar, welding steel buildings together, shipbuilding, super muscles, wearing a t-shirt, and he's super strong. He just they call him Joe. He helps out with the heavy lifting on the construction site.
Yeah.
He has no clue who he is. And then he gets his memory back and he's like, But for a few issues, he was just an ordinary Joe with muscles. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then they did that with Wonder Woman. They made her lose her superpowers and she was mortal and she had to use kung fu to fight off people. And she was just wearing regular clothes for a few episodes.
Oh, really? A pantsuit? Was she wearing a pantsuit?
No, she was wearing F Me Go-Go boots and disco outfit. No, 60s. It was 60s, laugh-in style outfits that the women wore on that show.
Yeah.
Sock it to me. Those kinds of outfits.
Nicolas Camargo make a very good comment here. He said that existing of a long backstory to the world doesn't need to be on screen all the time. Consider the real world. It is as it is. Either you know why or not. And that's something I often talk about as well when I talk about epistemology in role-playing game, right? Like you have to consider why your character know what they know. And like you can say like, like it's true. You look in the real world. Most people don't know shit about history, right? Most history is fake and gay too. So there's that, right? Just like like this vaguest understanding. So you would have character, but the player needs to know what their character would understand of the world. It doesn't mean they have to understand everything that led to this situation in the world. Yeah.
Okay, Max, did you read any Lex Luthor comic books?
No.
Back in the 80s. Okay. He had women working for him in the corporate Lex Corp or whatever his company's called.
Yeah.
Right,
the women wore, you mentioned business suits or business pants or pantsuits. The women wore business suits, from the waist up, it looked like a business suit, but they had mini skirts on. That was cool.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a
that's a mundane coolness, I think. I would like the mundane world to be like that right now.
Having like a mini skirt on top of pantsuit?
No pants, just mini skirt.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I would be done with that. Maybe I don't know. I'm torn on that.
You don't know?
Well, I don't know. Like now
move to California, make it happen. Because what starts in California ends up everywhere
but
else.
now we like you go to fucking gym and you have like women like basically like in lingerie, right? Just like it's
gonzo.
Oh, I don't know if they don't do that anymore, do they?
Anything goes.
Yeah, they do. It's fucking annoying.
The girls film some old fat fart staring at him for 2 seconds, and she's like, "Oh, he looked at me while while I'm tying my shoes.
Yeah,
And
you
it
look
goes
at me
on
like when I dress
TikTok.
like a fucking whore, right? It's like well, maybe dress decently, right? It's like
The
men
guy's looking at her
work
like, what
out
is
in
she
t-shirt
doing?
and loose short, right? You can too, right? But I'm
Yeah.
hot. Like,
She's got
Just
her
well,
just
leg.
have them answer the question why you're wearing makeup.
yeah,
If you're at the gym
Yeah,
and you don't want guys to pay attention, why are
yeah,
you wearing
yeah. And
makeup?
she's got 2 iPhone tripod setups and a couple light rings
hmm
around her thing, taking up a spot in the gym.
yeah,
I
staring
pity
like
the
the
fool.
camera
So
staring straight at
Pity
her
the fool
butt.
that looks at her.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. That's why they
and
can't
Some
get
some
like
guys some guys doing this, right? He's kind of looking up the
yeah.
ceiling while he's
Don't look
doing it.
there.
and like
Ruin your life.
I was doing like I'm doing like online coaching and stuff like that. So sometimes I ask people like film yourself in the gym, send me the video so I can predict your form and stuff like that. So like I'm not the one that say like, oh, we should ban filming in but like if you're just doing like if you're just on the machine, like you don't need form correction, you don't need to film yourself doing that, right? Just like you're just
Yeah.
posting that for a literous teen on
Well, I know
Instagram.
the latest scam is the girl that says, "Can someone help me with these weights here?" And the guys won't even look at her or help her or anything.
Yeah,
So
right.
then she films herself getting mad that no one's helping.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
even
it's
the trainers
dangerous.
will help her.
It's dangerous, in fact. But anyway,
The guys don't know what she's up to.
This is interesting and all, but getting back to setting, if because I was maybe a bit of the outlier here, because I was like, yeah, I love riffs. I think riffs is a fantastic
Yes.
setting, and riffs by most people's definitions would be gonzo, right? Gonzo meaning it includes everything.
All the books.
Psionics.
If you use all the books.
If you use all the books, you've got psionics, you've got high technology, you've got aliens, you've got dimensional travel, you've got everything possible, basically mechs, everything. And yet I still love it. And I was thinking about why that is. And I think in defense of that kind of setting, I like the idea that the world, it's not that the world doesn't make sense. There still needs to be rules for it. What I think makes a setting like Rifts work is that the setting doesn't take it for granted just how disruptive those technologies would be, and then explores how those different components, different races, aliens, all of this, how do they interact with one another? What kind of conflicts, what kind of prejudices exist because there's such variety? And so for me, it's not so much that it's one setting that is such a kitchen sink, everything in the kitchen sink type setting, that it's impossible to ever explore what it would mean for that character, that human being, that whatever it is, maybe not a human being. You're a man out of time, you're and place. You're not even like the rest of the people here. And explore those conditions. For me, it's not that everything in one all at once all the time. Rather, it's a lot of mini settings in one setting where if something happens, you could suddenly find yourself in a place where it's internally consistent, it's predictable in its way. It's not that it's completely unpredictable. It has some predictability to it, but there's enough variety that you could explore all sorts of different interactions with, well, what would it be like if you're on the frontier town and it's just, you're lucky to have a diesel generator or a windmill or something, and someone comes walking in with a 20-ton mech suit? How does that look? And then, or someone comes in on a flying carpet, or aliens arrive. Like, I think that, in my opinion, looking at in defense of a setting like Rifts, what you have is an opportunity to, like you'd say, have a mundane experience and then introduce something wild. Maybe not all at once, but you can still do that. And I like the escapism of it too. Like, you're absolutely right. It works best if everyone does the work beforehand to read up about Kyrgyzstan. Yep. So the basics of it, so that we're not constantly, well, what's the coalition? What did and I like the idea, like when I run new players that aren't familiar with Rifts, and we start as it's like Tombstone or Unforgiven, or it's a Western type setting perhaps. And then guys show up, humans perhaps show up in black armor with skull face plates, and they start rounding up just people that they claim, well, these people shouldn't be here. What's going on? What's like, this is, I still think there's that opportunity, like you said, of that discovery. You don't have to info dump the entire library from Palladium books on the players all at once. Here's 1,000 world books to read. I've got the whole shelf. Here's the whole shelf. Come back to me in a year or two when you've read it all. No, it can still be that we're going to discover in this, and we're going to take a deep dive on what it means to be caught in between a conflict of titanic proportions between neighbors that are using completely different approaches and a completely different worldview. Over here, we have someone that is anti-technology. Here we have someone that's technology. They're roughly equivalent power, and the struggle is between them. Where do you fall in that? That's my defense of a gonzo setting riffs, is that if taken in a reasonable bite-sized chunks, it can still, because I'm trying to, I am trying to be an honest, panel member, where I'm not, I was trying to understand why it is that you would gravitate more towards mundane versus something else. And I can completely understand what you're saying here. I also agree. The exploration of the human condition is much more interesting than, hey, look at this cool setting that I've built. It's the humans, it's those that populate the setting that make it memorable, not so much the setting itself. And that's why I hate Avatar. Not the good Avatar. Avatar: The Last Windbender. That's a great one. But the blue alien
How do we get
thing,
to Avatar?
I hate that. I hate Avatar so much. And the reason why I hate Expensive Fern Gully, or Dances with Wolves in Space, or anything else, it's basically Pocahontas but not as good. And I don't like Pocahontas, but Avatar is so awful because everything is world building there, and the characters are one-dimensional pastiche of, like, they're not even, to call them a cliche character is too much.
Well,
it
was the 2000s. 2000s movies were all about that. Like,
and I hate
it's also like not a
the
movie
prequels
lecture,
to
right?
Star Wars were all that.
And it's really just propaganda anyway, because but I don't worship the setting as the end all and be all. And I can see how, if you're really into the gonzo stuff, maybe you've put too much emphasis on the setting and how wacky, wild, wacky, random stuff that we have here, and everything goes. I don't like that. I think it has to be, the focus should be on the individuals that populate the setting. So I'm really more interested in, well, why is it that these people think this way? Let's play that. And then I also, when I run in and I haven't done a lot of it, I want to do more, but when I do run in settings that have a much broader scope, like, so you could be high tech, but you could also be someone that's just using their powers of their mind. How are you going to interact with one another? I am absolutely convinced that gonzo only works where limitations are placed. So you're all starting here. You have this, you're not, I don't think it makes sense to just, you have this grab bag of random things spread across 34 world books, and you just grab at random a dartboard approach.
So you wouldn't do like a party like, oh, I want to play like a vampire from Mexico, and this guy is gonna play like a go-go boy from Quebec, and this guy's
never. It would make
every week. Every week you go through another rift.
Yeah, I never ever, and I've read most of the books, and it doesn't seem like that it's really encouraging that. And but when you watch someone play riffs, you're always going to have a party like that where, well, I really think this guy was cool, or I have the Japan source book, and I really want to be a dragon cyborg, and someone else is like, yeah, well, I'm not interested in that. I want to be, a tattoo magic guy from Atlantis. And I'm thinking, wait a second, travel in this world is exceptionally dangerous and difficult, and communication in the world is virtually impossible over large distances. How in the world would you ever even be here? So I put much stricter limitations.
That's something in Rift. Like they're big like a metal
Glitter
armor or
boy.
some shit. Oh, Glitter Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's his backstory. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. No.
I like the
But I do
idea
like
of
that. I
just
do like
one rift.
restricting it. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
restrict it.
Just have one rift for like the first part of the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So on one side of the rift is current day Earth, and it's a hellhole. Current day Earth. On the other side of the rift, it's paradise. It's Earth, maybe 50, 60 years ago. Everyone finds this out. Everyone wants to go through that rift.
Yeah.
They want to go back in time to the good old days. The people on the other side of the rift are saying, no, don't let these people from the future in here. They're unclean. The unclean masses, bunch of weirdos. They're going to ruin our society. Plus, there's no room for these people. Now, the rift is just a thing that allows the two settings to compete for existence, I guess.
Well, usually, from what I
But it's
understand,
not
you
about
don't
just
go.
the rift.
Usually, like from what I understand, you don't go through Rift. Stuff come out of Rift, right?
You can go in through
Or you
rifts.
can go in through Rift.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make them both ways. Both
ways.
There many of them are. And
so then you end up like in Palladium Fantasy.
You can, and
with
then that's what your setting is. So that's what it'll be. Like it's going to be that, and
you could okay. On one side of the rift could be a gold mine with all the gold you could ever imagine, but it's only one way. You can't come back with your gold, so you're stuck there in a cave with gold. Or you go into the rift, and you're now 1,000 miles under water pressure, being killed because it's a water world, and you can't get back. Have it go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, your solution to this Gonzo setting is really to limit it and to say, okay, we're gonna do like this X thing. So you're gonna be like from this frontier town, or you're gonna be like from this city that's under totalitarian regime.
Or the players build rifts.
Yeah, and they have some aspect of knowledge of what's happening in the world. Rift, like maybe if you come from a city, like in the coalition, you know a little more.
You may have more, but education is not a thing, and I like that. In the sense that
I like that too,
most characters will not. Yeah, I know what you're going to say. Most characters are not going to have this encyclopedia knowledge of what everything is, what the world is. Most things are going to be strange and dangerous and are going to be treated that way. So I like the idea of starting off limited. Yeah. So even though it's a Gonzo world,
so like if you're like in Boston, you don't necessarily know that
it should feel small, or the world feels big, but that's only because the scope of it is limited. It's small.
Did you see the movie Annihilation?
I have seen bits of it. I haven't watched
the girl scientists that go through some sort of a shield field thing.
Yeah.
And on the other side, they see what's going on. What crazy. It's kind of Gonzo, but it's very limited to that one little space, that one little area. Mm-hmm. So the story is just what's behind that barrier. How the plants are mutating humans and stuff.
So is that like the thing that Rift did? That the world is Gonzo, but because like travel is difficult and education is not a thing, then you can
compartmentalize it. Yes,
more.
And,
dinosaurs coming through portals or what rifts.
You can kind of turn it back to this.
You can dial it back
X but Y.
Exactly. You can dial it back to that X plus Y, and then gradually over the course of play, it can expand, and now it includes this, and so now we've met a cyber knight, and now we can
the Y become familiar, then you can add Y prime.
Exactly. So then there can be a new thing. Now we've got a really good handle on that. We understand that we can make assumptions accurately, what the characters would know, how they would respond. Now we can introduce something else that's new, and now there's Spulgorth slavers from Atlantis, or now there's Archie's minions that are operating in the area, and what is Archie 3 up to, and what is this, and there can be this gradual building to the point where eventually the whole scope of it, this massive scope, could be available to players that are familiar enough with it where it doesn't feel as gonzo as it would if you were brand new, dropped into the middle of whatever, and then all of a sudden you have to make sense of all this. Like there's mechs, and then there's this, and there's that, and there's like, how do I even make sense of all this?
Yeah.
So starting, that's my defense for a gonzo setting, why I like it so much, because I do feel there's just so many opportunities to explore interesting interplays between different things.
Is that like is it explained how all those different things can coexist in the world? Like why didn't
Often.
like this faction took over like the whole fucking thing, right? Why
Yeah,
is there
there
like
is.
this like frontier town living like in its Western time?
Why
right?
is this? Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
although there is some hand waving, of course, you can expect that, and that's okay. It's just space that we could, like Rick was mentioning before, we could run a session 0 and say, why is it that we're not just part of this or part of that? Like, what is it different about this particular place? Maybe there's some dangerous rifts around, so it's somewhat isolated. But as much as the source books themselves are difficult to read if you're looking for a rule, what they do well is they focus in on the okay, well, how is this interplay happen? Like, what is this person, their relationship with this faction, their relationship with that other faction?
Yeah, it's all factions.
So it's all
every book says what their faction likes and dislikes,
what they like, so that's great from a role play perspective, because it does start to inform what values would be important to characters from those areas. And at the end of the day, that's what I want my players to be representing the values of their characters. That's what they should be role playing. And I think you and I probably agree on that, Max, because of we were talking about earlier before we began about the bastard sword, some of the mechanics there, and I think that's great. Caught my eye. I think that's what I like.
Yeah.
So,
but like, is there like a reason where like because the world is in some state of chaos, there's a lot of things going on. Is there a reason why it hasn't been solved? Right? It's
yes.
Yes. All right.
There's definite reasons why, and then there's also reasons why if some faction was getting close to having a monopoly or asserting dominance, there's checks and balances, and that's so it's not although it's hard to call rifts believable, it's hard. It's also hard to say, well, yeah, this is the ultimate power and no one can come up against that.
There's nothing that says it can't happen.
Yeah, it could. You could play it out where, maybe an alliance between New Quebec and the coalition states and Triax and somewhere else, and they all combine and they finally, assert their dominance. But the problem with that in the setting is, as soon as that happens, there's still the unanswered problem, which is an unsolvable problem of how do you close the rifts. Yeah. Because you could have like they have this I'm not totally up on it to be sure, but you could have something where this multiverse in flames kind of thing, where demon legions just start pouring in, or the Zictics or whatever, the insect races just start pouring in swarms that are unstoppable, and now former enemies are finding that they have to ally with one another or be wiped out completely. So anyway, that's
remember there's some Tina Turner in Road Warrior 2 or
you just watched that movie or what?
No, it's I've seen it like 1,000 times.
The saxophone, yeah.
What was her character's name?
I don't remember her. She's Tina Turner to me, so I was.
She was a waitress. She was a waitress before all this shit happened in that universe, and now she's like queen of the whatever.
Yeah, she's.
That's what I like about. That's what I like about riffs. A girl in the game, she can be a waitress, and then the rifts happen, and now she's, Queen Magica of the something realm.
Yeah,
because she has an army, a legion that she commands from her rifts. and she was just a regular, she was just Sarah Connor, at one point
But
in a tavern.
the thing I have with the like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like when you put like everything in, right?
Mhm.
Does it really add something? Like would it be like if you want to explore like one of those aspects, one of those facets, right? You can just make this one world where like, okay, we're from the town, and now like the mech guy come in, or like this portal to hell open, right? And now we explore that and we dive deep into that. But that's basically what you're saying you're doing, like when you play a game of Rift, right? You just like you
Yes.
start with a small, and then you with one thing that we explore, and then we can go explore the next thing once we.
Yes.
So basically, you're kind of like you're not throwing everything in at the same time, so you kind of like
No.
Like
No.
Iron Man, when the
you
Iron
kind of
Man
like
movie came out, it was just one thing, and then the next Iron
yeah,
Man movie, and then there was the Avengers, and the Avengers added Thor and Hulk, and then they added things. And next thing you know, the MCU happens, and everything falls to
yeah.
shit.
But you're basically adding all those things like one drop at a time. That's
One,
so
yeah, exactly. And I do think that it's possible to do that in a setting like Rifts. It does take more work. Like, so to in defense of your position, Max, where you know yes, it's using tropes a lot. Like it'll use a magic trope, or it'll use a cyberpunk trope when it comes to body modifications, and it'll use those tropes. But it's hard when you're getting into a setting like that, unless you do my cheat, which is you just start small, like start very small,
yeah,
and then build gradually over time. It's really hard to have those shortcuts to aid imagination, and
yeah,
it does rely. I do think it relies a lot on players being interested in multiple portions of that setting.
yeah.
If they're only
That's
interested in one portion of the setting, then why even run Rifts? Like
that's
if
my
they're,
point.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but I do think that many players, hey, you know what? Sometimes I just want a big robot, and other times I want to blow something up with my mind or do Jedi mind tricks. Other times I wish I could just be a dragon.
But if you
And
like, that's my point. Like when you if you try to mix it all up together,
yeah, you just don't do it all
and
at once. You
yeah,
just do it. But I
and
think that
also
the
I want to think about
advantage.
like what it says about
Mhm,
people, like about players when they have this kind of like, well, I just want to be a big dragon, right? Just like let's talk about that later. But I want to go to some comment before, because also
yeah,
like what Azimut was saying there, you seem to be trying to mitigate cognitive dissonance and player behavior by narrowing the game world. Right approach with the
right.
right group, none of this would be needed. Homework by all, solve this. And that's the thing, like, yeah,
Maybe.
homework. You
Yeah.
can solve that by homework. But
Mhm.
Maybe I've never
if you have
seen
like people
Homework.
like are
I think you could.
player that are
Yeah.
very invested and want to, okay, I'm gonna read your fucking Bible, right? Just like
Players don't read the
Mhm.
PDFs you send them half the time.
exactly.
Not
If it's
usually,
a
no.
lore dump, they're not going to read a lore dump off
I won't do
camera.
it. I'm not interested.
So
If they
yeah,
don't want to
Hope
hear
you
it
can
during the
send me a
game, they're
Lord
not going
dump.
to
it's a
do it
good
before
point.
game.
He makes a good point. If you
Yeah,
have a
but if
committed
you,
group,
yeah,
yeah, it would
but
work.
I'm not that kind of guy. Like
Mhm.
I also don't believe in reading, so that's the thing.
Refer to your notes I
Makes
sent
it
you.
hard. Yeah.
Page 7, paragraph 6.
So yeah, I don't like the kind of grab bag approach where everything all at once. I
Yeah,
think a little bit at a time to introduce it, and to explore how the various components, not all at once, but gradually interact with one another. So
What happens? What's
yeah,
the default player that you say, we're going to play Rifts, pick whatever you want and show up tomorrow? Then you're going to be screaming, right?
yeah.
Half the
yeah,
time.
you
No, you
can't.
can't have that in my game. Why
No,
you pick that? No, no, no. But you
Also,
said I could pick anything.
a lot of
yeah, don't.
option two and riff are weird. Like oh, okay, I
Mhm.
can play a juicer, and then like I don't know what the fuck is that. Like I don't know, like a crazy. I don't even know what
Yeah,
the
a
fucking are, right?
crazy a
It's like
juicer. It's it,
I love
it
like
is a
and then even like the
challenge.
character you do. Like there's like
Mhm.
okay, now I have to think about this. Like it's so different and it's so weird and it's so like well, those are
They're
just words I
aliens.
heard. I don't know what they are,
They're
right?
just
So
another
maybe that's
name
weird.
for alien.
No, you're
Yeah,
right. People, I guess, but
Like
yeah.
what's a reaver in Firefly? That kind of thing.
Mhm.
yeah,
I'm gonna be a reaver. Oh wow.
Well, I think
I can
it's
understand
better
what they
if you
are.
wanted to get started in something like Rift. So what I would suggest is you would really start with with
Like a
one world
vagabond.
book, and you would say, this component of this world book, this sounds interesting. Let's start here. And then it's so again, it's like when it's many mini settings in one setting.
Yeah.
And why is that a nice thing? Well, because maybe after enough games and familiarity, you'll take one of those characters that was a vampire hunter, and things happen, and now he's in, I don't know, he's in coalition state Lone Star or something like that. He's moved a little bit in the world, but there's different things there. And what does it look like? He's interacting with these humanized animals that are kind of weaponized animals now. What is that? There's some
Like
things
curries?
that we can do. Yeah, essentially. But
I always recommend using a campaign book if a rule set has one
yeah,
to start with.
But again, like
If the
go
game
back to doing the
designer
homework,
wrote
right?
down some ideas for how
Yeah.
to start.
If you cannot explain your world like in one page of bullet point, right? Maybe you're doing too much. Squad Bench that lives say just add a teaspoon of butter. I was about to say tablespoon, which is the right answer.
yes.
Butter,
Teaspoon
was
is not a serving for
yeah,
butter.
exactly. No, like, and that works for every recipe when you cook. Just add a tablespoon of butter,
Always.
or nut of butter, right?
Bacon.
Yeah.
Just add bacon.
Warhammer 40k is like Earth, but 40,000 years in the future.
Yeah, it's just like now, but
Exactly. Just like
40,000 years from now.
So what's that setting like? Well, it's like Earth
with
but
Primarchs
40,000 in the future.
and an emperor that is fed 1,000 psychics a day on his throne. Yeah, just like here. No,
Yeah,
it's not like here at all.
Well, maybe,
Well, maybe a little bit.
Let's not go political, but yeah, like I think 40k can work because people are so dedicated to the lore.
Yeah, if you're following Luton or other 40k lore guys, then you could play in a 40k game, and I think it would work just fine.
Yeah,
if you're a casual, well, first of all, I don't like gaming with casuals. I don't game with casuals.
But also, like, a lot of people in the world don't know everything about the world, right? Just like there's also like character in the world have imperfect information about the world.
Yeah,
so that also works in your favor in that
constantly. And that's the same with riffs.
Yeah,
I think riffs works best when there is no known facts.
I guess it's a big saving grace. I guess it's a big saving grace for a lot of like those weirder setting. If you add the instant, but people are not Twitch gated and don't know really what's going on in the world, right? If you play like a sci-fi setting that is supposed to be somewhat utopic and stuff like that, like futuristic and like, then like, well, people wouldn't. Would people have like some kind of equivalent of internet where they can figure out all the stuff, right? Just
doesn't exist. Heavily censored. Yeah.
Yeah. Then
that's the same in 40k too, right?
Like, I pick up my phone and I Googled that thing, right? Just like that's the way to ask a question to the GM. Like, well, I Google like, what's the lifespan of this thing? And then like ChatGPT reply to you in the voice of the GM.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you think of that, Shauna?
No phones in my games.
No, but like the player, like the character using his phone to ask questions to the GM, basically by Googling stuff.
I've had that in my in-person.
I'd have to know what was
Traveler, and they're using the ship's AI, ship computer to basically be the encyclopedia. And so I'm more and more often replying as the ship. Why do you keep bothering me with this? Like, I'm not interested. I'm busy.
I'd have to know what was role played up until the point someone says they're going to use ChatGPT to get answers.
How will AI change?
All right. What else do we got here? Anything for me? Let's see here.
Also, when you stick toward the mundane, you can constrain the definition of what is magic. Maybe it's only telekinesis. Yeah, that's also a good thing. Like, magic should have limitation. Like, I'm not a big fan of like magic in the end of the player character.
Yeah, it should have a cost.
Yeah, it should have like
be a trade-off. In Rifts, often the cost is you in some communities, in some areas, you're just killed on site. Like there's
as it should be.
Absolutely, there's huge amounts of bias, and depending on where you go, it can be very unhealthy for anyone to know.
Yeah. How about a time traveling RPG?
I'm not a huge fan of time traveling. I just find it gets a little confusing over time. I've tried it a couple times and it was difficult.
It's
I
complicated
do it
to
all the
deal with
time
paradox.
as long as it's not that what was that Von Damme movie,
Time
Future Cop or Time
Time
Cop.
Cop.
Yeah,
Cop.
as long as it's not that,
Yeah.
I
Well,
can
now,
handle the Back to the Future stuff.
now you have to deal with all like the time paradox too, right?
Yeah.
You
It
can
just
like,
always
Yeah,
the
yeah.
paradoxes come up too often.
like the question people always ask, like if you can go back in time, would you shoot baby Churchill, right? Just like
right. Or you go back and you kill your grandfather or something. Like what happens
or
then?
become your own grandfather.
You
Is
become
that
your
the
own
second?
grandfather.
Is that the second future reference I made tonight? No, the other one was Philly.
So anyway, I haven't done much. The ones I did, I'm not too pleased with. I won't be repeating it.
Yeah.
If I have paradoxes, I try to make them not cliche ones, just paradoxes we haven't tried yet.
Yeah, but you can have like people like also like visit the past, and maybe the character don't know that much, and they're figuring out stuff as they go as well. So like like then you don't have like this clash between player knowledge and character knowledge. So
Yeah.
Like the
Depends
serial
how you do
killer the guy who he kills his girlfriend or whatever, and then he goes back in time and she's alive.
so she
Then
can
he
kill
kills her
she can
again,
kill her
and then
again.
he goes back in time.
He just go back one day before just so he can just kill her one more time.
And he's like fanatical about it. How do
Well,
you catch
everybody
someone
needs
who's doing
hobby.
that?
How far back are you in the chat? Holy smokes!
About half an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm skipping some of the chat down, but like I highlight the thing that I find funny or insightful or just
There was a couple questions there, I think.
yeah, Gonzo game when.
There was a movie with David
Soon.
Bowie.
Well, we did the fucking Wendy's RPG.
Yeah, that's
What was the
well.
movie?
I'd rather do riffs. I'd rather run riffs.
What
Which
was
one
the
is
movie with-
which one's Gonzo year?
What was the movie that had
Riffs-
David Bowie in
Wendy's
it
was just
and
silly.
Hugh Jackman?
David Bowie and Hugh Jackman?
Yeah,
David Bowie and Hugh Jackman.
They made a movie together?
David Bowie, I think, was Tesla.
Oh no, that wasn't David Bowie. You're thinking of The Prestige.
Yeah, who played Tesla?
I don't remember who played Tesla, but the other in The Prestige, it was Hugh Jackman and I believe Christian Bale was the other. They
Oh,
were
maybe it was Christian Bale.
They were magicians that were
Oh, no,
trying
they're
to one
competing.
up each other, competing.
But they're using time travel in that one, right?
They use a machine. Spoiler alert. The one guy gets a machine built by Tesla that clones himself.
Yeah.
But he has to kill himself every time for the trick to work.
But a clone? So what's
Yeah.
the point?
So it's all for this impossible trick that he's trying to
They
do.
found a bunch of hats lying on the ground.
Right? That's mysterious.
You can
Bunch of
you
hats.
can role play in BattleTech.
Yeah, you can roleplay in BattleTech. You are mercs for Iron Max shoot fighting off pirate. But yeah, like Andy
Oh,
said
okay.
in the next comment,
You can
Of
role
course,
play in
that's
that
much more
like you
wargaming
can
than
role
roleplay.
play. You can role play in that like you can role play in Starship Troopers
Sure.
you can roleplay in your Starship Trooper.
or
Yeah,
role
you
play in Aliens.
Yeah.
I think so.
You know, some Star Marine going on a bug hunt.
Yeah.
That's what
And
you do
when,
every time
it's
you
when
go
things goes
planet
wrong,
hopping.
right? You're just like, oh, we're supposed to be dropped there, but like the drop ship fell off, and now we're stranded from the rest of the group. Just
Yeah, it's off
this thing you can
course.
do,
You know,
right?
you can role play
Yeah.
Quake,
Quake.
2.
Can
Oh,
you?
man.
Is there a wall about that? I don't know much about Quake.
Oh, I used to play Quake 2 all the time.
Yeah.
Then
That's I always
Half-Life
wanted to
happened.
roleplay in the city of Sigil. I think that was an interesting concept. The city of
It's an
Door.
interesting concept for a kind of a fantasy gonzo.
Yeah.
Nick is right. Wouldn't compartmentalize be possible in any setting? Yeah, of course.
Yes.
And I think that's a good way of handling setting introduction is to just start small.
Wait, let's talk
Like,
about
what-
Sigil for a second there. Or Sigil. Oh, you said Sigil or Sigil?
Be
I've
careful how you
heard
say it.
both. I have no idea. My pronunciation of words is usually wrong. So sigil. There you go. I don't like the modern treatment of it.
I didn't look at it, obviously. I don't.
Yeah, it's not really my cup of tea. It's
Yeah.
it's
probably
very
like-
propagandistic. in
Well,
my
that's
opinion.
what I figured. So I didn't bother looking
Yeah.
at it, right? But I like
It's too
the whole,
diverse. or
Yeah,
too
Well, it's
adverse, I
always
should
like it
say.
was meant to be diverse, right? Just like this
yeah.
weird place, and I guess like that's you can go with this concept, right? Is this city where all the portal for all dimension meet?
Hmm.
I don't know why. For me, this is something that can be role playable because it's weird, but it's one concept, right? Like portal for every like the portal from any kind of dimension, all lead here.
Like Rifts Earth, all the rifts from all the different
Would it?
dimensions that
I
open.
think that's what I'm thinking about now. Like because I'm thinking like now it's in one contained space, right?
Sure.
So would that does that make it? I don't know why I give a pass to that.
Sounds like Monsters
Yeah,
Inc.
why'd you give it past that? You're
That's what I'm thinking about now. Like that's being mentioned, right? I don't know. I just like the idea of like this city built inside of a torus at top of an infinite spire.
Mhm.
Like that's
On
very
top of a turtle.
gonzo.
Uh-huh.
Basically, that's very gonzo. But
Oh well, we've
From
given
from
Max something to think about.
yeah, I need
That's
to think
good.
about that. Why do I give a pass to that? Right? Is it
Yeah.
because it's contained? It's like this one concept. It's this one city where people from all kind of dimension meet together.
Mhm.
And demons, like I don't know, because like say okay, but it's because a normal human will live in Sigil just trying to survive in the weird place where they just landed and through a random portal and can never like well, I don't like the human. There's no normal human in Sigil. Like most humans in Sigil are born there and live their whole life there. No,
I have no
they're just
idea.
like they're like people like for them that's regular life for them. Is there a point where it became like so weird that everything can be expected? Is there like a tipping point?
Maybe.
the wizard guy who just he's seen everything, he's done everything. To him, it's normal.
It's like Q from Star Trek, right?
Maybe it could just be Gandalf. Doesn't Gandalf know everything? Like there's nothing surprises him.
Sean Sherry say, "Holy crow!" On and on stream, Batman. Well, I'm here now. Sean Sherry, that's my Friday stream, which is always like on every Friday at 9:10, just like now. Is that like Shonner or Crispy restreaming?
Oh, I'm not restream. Am I supposed to be? I should.
No, it's
I
Shonner,
should.
I guess.
I'm streaming somewhere.
Yeah,
Um.
there you go, Sean Sherry. That's the explanation.
Doodle Squatch says that I think they did Cyber Knights dirty. Their leader sucks. Completely agree.
That's
I
drifting.
changed that. I
What are
changed.
Cyber Knight?
Cyber Knights
what's
are
Cyber
kind of the Rift's version of a hedge knight. You know, like they go around doing good, trying to help the common folk.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, I like the concept of it a lot. Don't like what they've done with it. It's one of the
Y-
things I would change. And
Is that
yeah, there's lots of things I would change. That's one of them.
so? Cyber Knight, I guess, like they probably have like some kind of like cybernetic implant or some shit like that.
Yeah, they have a very advanced relationship with technology but they're psionic knights essentially with a
Oh,
technology component layered on. But you could play it as if it's just like you have a code of chivalry, you've got an honor that you uphold, and you're
but they would need to know quite a bit about the world, I guess, if they're just like going around helping people. No.
yeah, but they're not because and they're liked in some places, other places they're not welcome. But yeah, I like the concept a lot. I think they're really good. But the leadership, the way they've kind of taken it, I would change that. So I agree with you,
But
Doodle Squatch, on
all
that.
of these source books work fine with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah, I've got that coming. Can't wait. I used to have that. I was one of my first ones.
Yeah.
When I get it, we're gonna run it 4D style.
Oh, really?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, absolutely. It'll be fun.
All right.
It'll be a lot of good.
We're gonna have like our furry game.
Yeah, you wanted to play cats. Don't
I love
get
cats.
after me.
We'll do the cats game at some point.
Yeah.
I just need to. Yeah, I just cannot run that when I'm heartbroken.
No, of course. And just your other question, Doodle Squatch, I believe you could in these in different world books. The opponents, the main obstacles are different. In the New German Republic, it's gargoyles that are the big problem, and so I believe there was an android created, this infiltrator android that I'm not sure if it was a play you could play it as a character or not, but I do think there was something like that you're not remembering incorrectly. I think that was in the New German Republic stuff. But anyway, I'm betraying my nerdism for
what makes Rift characters interesting? Just the fact that they came through a rift, or is there something in their character sheet that says they're so amazing to roleplay?
It's a good question. I think what makes them interesting is their training, their special, like they have special training. It's all skill based, basically.
Yeah.
So they'll have what makes one character, Rift's character, different. If we're just talking about humans, would be the decisions that they've made that have led to this point here. So this is whether or not they decided they were going to forego parts of their humanity, or they were going to pursue something in magic, or they were going to pursue something with psionics, or none of the above. They were just going to be a pilot or what have you. It's the decisions that they've made that influence their skills and what they can do, what they're trained to do. In some cases,
like a lot of characters lose their humanity at some point.
Yeah, a lot of them do, or they're on a quick expiration date, like a juicer. So every day you're just that much closer to a very, very quick end. Like you've got a 4-year timetable and you die. So you would role play that. In my mind, you have to role play that as your every moment lost is just so devastating. If you know your life is over in 4 years, you got 48 months. Any downtime that you're forced to take is just like crazy. So yeah, I think there's
depends on you value life as well, right?
Yeah, well, and what does that look like?
Why would you make that choice to become a juicer? Like, you have like
and there's got to be months. Like that's what makes it so interesting, one character to another. Why did you choose that? Like
some people just are just waiting to die, right? Just like don't like life, and just like you have nothing going on.
Exactly.
Like 48 months, is like 42 months too long, right?
Or are you doing this as a sacrifice to help someone else?
Yeah.
Like if I sign on this, then my kids will get my survivor's pension or whatever. So I'm gonna sign on with the coalition as a juicer, even though I know I'm only gonna live 4 years max. But my kids will be moved out of the burbs and into the arcology, or they'll become citizens. Or
but you see now, like, we're back to human condition.
It has to be the human condition.
It's always like this thing that Wagner said, like the only thing worth writing about is the human art in conflict with itself, right? Just Squad Bench Deadlift. The last time I played in my group, last time I was a player in my group, I was the only one to read the lore and campaign setup document. It was about 2 pages. Yeah, that's what happened. People don't read the PDF. Homework, you narrow the scope because most people don't have the chops to be actually creative. So you limit the player agency just enough to force them to be creative, and that's a real thing. Like, limitation breeds creativity.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very, very real thing. The movie Everything Everywhere All at Once was great because of the gonzo setting. Was focused on a man trying to keep the business afloat and his family. I never saw that.
I've seen it. Mm-hmm.
Was it good?
It was okay. I liked it. Yeah, it's a different movie, but it was good. It's well done.
All right, maybe I'll give it a chop.
You may not like it.
I don't tend to like movie.
Compared to what movies are now, it was okay.
Yeah,
it was okay.
Yeah.
It's not The Godfather.
No, it's not a classic.
There you go, Sean Sharif. Shots fired. I always thought Rift was a game made for 13-year-old boys.
I think it is. I think, Sean, you're right. I think that's how it's played. It's generally presented as, hey, you want to do anything? Here it is. It's all on the plate all at once. I don't like that. I think that the setting really comes to life for me when there's reasonable limitations imposed, and 13-year-old boys are not good with limitations of any kind. I think that the themes that are explored in Rifts are much better suited to a mature gamer who's going to be thinking about the human condition. And maybe if you're playing a coalition grunt, maybe there's a case to be made that as brutal as they can be, maybe they're better than the alternative. And so you're going to play the character like, oh, yeah, I mean, it's kind of too bad we have to wipe out these people, but they're not supposed to be here anyway. So,
and are they really people?
And they're not, so that like sacrifices have to be made. And then how do you wrestle with that? Like, that's a huge.
Yeah. Crown Target, I don't think I know that name. Oh, it's from
So why did you hate Avatar, Crispy?
Because what they did there is they just did a technology showcase on how pretty you could make a setting look. And then
when you went to see it in IMAX,
it was
with
incredible.
The 3D glasses, it was great, right?
It was amazing, like just incredible.
And the big thing that they did like different, like instead like 3D back then, like they would like
it was so
put stuff in your face like that all the time, right?
Yeah, and this one was
like,
different.
No, you know what? Like we're not gonna
yeah,
like,
but wouldn't
a
Rifts player like that movie? Because in a way you're going to another setting.
I don't like it as someone who really likes the Rift setting. I hate the Avatar James Cameron movies because in the Rifts, to his credit, Kevin I always get his name wrong, but who I'm talking about, Kevin Simbida or whatever his name is.
Yeah. His wife died, I think, also, by the way. So
she did?
Yeah, apparently.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thought in prayer for
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a tragedy. He's done a very good job of focusing, even though the setting gets so much attention, it really does focus more on the individuals and who's like the leaders of this and the leader of that. And while I don't agree with every decision that they've made, I do think that the human element is there. That is not the case with James Cameron's so-called masterpieces. I don't see that at all.
That's funny because James Cameron has fucking some great movies.
He has. Aliens was amazing.
Avatar is not one of them.
I liked the one in the ocean that was called
Abyss.
The Abyss. I loved The Abyss.
Terminator 2 is great movie, right?
Yeah, there's some really good ones, but I cannot stand Avatar because I watch it and the story is so weak. It makes no sense. Yeah, Rifts can be criticized because, if you have 20-ton walking robots with high, very high technology weaponry on them, how are you possibly going to play, I'm a wizard. Yeah, well, you're a wizard and I've got tactical nukes. I trump you. But
depends on how magic is, right?
But the problem with Avatar is that you have a intersystem, not just intersystem, you have intergalactic travel. You have faster than light travel, and you're coming here to mine, and with all of your technology, you can only come here and then do strip mining. Like, has James Cameron never even talked to a mining engineer once?
Yeah.
And yet he makes this whole premise of
to the purpose of the
purpose it's just
of the movie.
Stupid.
It's just a fucking noble savage thing.
It's a civilization that is too stupid to exist. Yeah. And I have the coalition and the other factors, all the factions, I should say, in Rifts, they're not too stupid to exist. They have reasons to
the guys in Avatar are current day Democrats, basically.
Yeah, I just hate it. I hate everything about it.
It doesn't feel like they're humans from the future.
It doesn't.
I'm a guy that don't like civilization technology, right? But this was just so fucking.
Just watch Fern Gully.
It's just yeah. Well, like somebody are just saying.
What is Fern Gully? Is that a phone game?
You should watch if you've seen the Avatar. You should
Of
now
course,
go and
Avatar made
watch
sense. It's
Fern
just Dance
Gully.
with the Wolf and the Smurf set in Fern Gully. I don't know what Fern Gully is.
Fern Gully is an animated thing. It was kind of anti logging and
Oh, really?
development.
There you go.
You might like it. It was actually better
I
than
like
Avatar. Anyway,
I just think
Yeah.
people should work in field with sight. That's for
So-
most people. That's what adequate for them.
so I apologize, Max. I have to get going. I've got
Oh.
to get up early tomorrow morning and get on the
All right.
road. But
Really?
I really appreciate this chance I had to come on and not defend. I think we were just sharing our
Yeah.
perspectives.
No, I
didn't
appreciate
feel
your perspective,
attacked.
and I see where you're coming from. You said like, yeah, if you drip feed him,
Mhm.
drip feed it,
Yes.
then if you drip feed the Konzo, then maybe like it's not so bad. Just like,
Yeah.
but like for me, like it's just like put it in all at once. That's where the poison come in.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with you. And I
And
really do.
That's exactly what this comment says as well. Like you drip feed the Gonzo because roleplay is about interaction.
Yes.
If there's too much thrown at once, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more, Crown Target. I think you're right over the target. That's fantastic. You give me a pun. Hey, I'm a dad. I'm allowed. But I liked your explanation of why you like the mundane, and I think I understand where you're coming from a little better now.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me. So yeah. There we
Yeah,
go.
well,
Two
thank you
people that have
for,
different opinions that aren't yelling at each other on the internet. Folks, go buy a lottery ticket. You may never see this again.
Thank you for coming on, Crispy.
It's my pleasure. Good to be with you, Sean. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll catch up to you guys later.
We're doing something Monday, right?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I know that there's been some kind of off the record ones that we're working on, for people that want to run a game for us. I think we're going to do a Star Wars one, Phil and I. And
I might not be in that one as well. Like I might have sometime you can do something without me. I don't need to be in everything.
We just wish you were. All right. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Take care, later. Yeah. Nicholas said devils. Yeah, devils aren't evil in D&D now. Yeah. Like we know why. Yeah. All right. Jumpsuit John say, okay, I keep hearing the term gonzo, but I have never heard anyone define it. What has its original definition? What did it evolve to, and what it is now? Getting real sick of the lack of definition. Oh, that's a good point.
Random character generator, and it picks from all settings for your character.
Was the term gonzo? Did the term gonzo started with Hunter S. Thompson? With his gonzo journalism?
I don't know. I don't know what the origin of the word is.
I don't know what the origin of the word is, but usually when we talk about like setting and we talk about gonzo,
we have cowboys with dinosaurs.
It basically means like anything goes. It's like you throw everything in it, right? There's sci-fi element, there's fantasy element, there's cowboys,
and dinosaurs,
dinosaurs.
But then you add Nazis. You know, Nazi UFO space technology.
Yes, it's like everything, anything you can think, you fit it right in, right? That's
then you. When I was a kid, okay, here's a good origin, I suppose. When I was a kid, things turned gonzo when the player showed up with the ninja character.
Yeah,
and there's no ninjas in the setting.
Yeah, that's usually that's often the one it starts. Like even like in 5e when you look at the monks, right? Just like, oh, we're all playing like this medieval European kind of thing. No, I'm a kung fu guy. Like, okay, I guess.
Or the girl that turns into the Chinese dragon, or it's the that movie Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
To me, that's a big gonzo to me.
You think it's gonzo?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call
American truck driver in San Francisco, Chinatown, Chinese mafia.
Yeah, but that's just like for me that's just
magic
like
dude.
It's real world, but there's this one element of Chinese magic that is added, right? It's only really one element that is added. There's no dinosaur, there's no alien, there's no robot.
I don't know, the guy with the exploding head when he holds his breath.
I forget. I need to watch that. I need to
There's
rewatch.
what else? There's the ninja dude. Oh, well, now we have John Wick.
Oh,
So a lot of people want to show up in the game as John Wick.
you know what? Let me fucking post the link the link in the comment. Usually, like the second half of the show when we open the floodgate, the mass.
But I'm curious.
Like I put the link in the chat. You're welcome to join if you want to add something to the conversation. There's some. You don't get to talk to Crispy because I know like Crispy had limited time, and I want to use it all for myself.
Nicholas says Flash Gordon is Gonzo. Is it?
No. It's
Was
just,
the
that's
movie
just that's just
Gonzo?
sci-fi. That's just sci-fi. No, it's like 50s sci-fi, right? Just like I wouldn't call it Gonzo. It's like
sports jock
you
and
could
his girlfriend.
you could say that the Star Trek, the original season, right, the original series, is kind of Gonzo, but they justify it by going to this wall and this wall, and oh, this wall is the Western wall, so now we have this Western adventure, and this wall is like there's this the Gorn, right? And
I'd say Lost in Space was Gonzo. After first season, it was just ridiculous.
Like, oftentimes, like this, when you're in sci-fi and you go to a different world, that's often used as an excuse to be Gonzo because you can have everything go, but everything is compartmentalized. Am I saying that right? It's too many syllables in that word.
I want to say Gonzo comes from Bozo, which comes from the Gong Show. You ever watch the Gong Show?
No.
There was a talent show. People come on do retarded acts in front of the judges, and they get gonged. Someone will gong them, and they get yanked off the stage.
Oh, really? Was that with like a big shepherd crook?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
The what was another one? The John Wick. So John Wick is that guy with the guns, right?
Yeah.
He can't be shot, or he can't. I don't know. He's been through 5 movies now.
But I wouldn't call that Gonzo because that's like it's.
No, it's Gonzo if a player shows up with him in your D&D
in your
game.
in your D&D game. Yeah, now you're introducing a Gonzo element, right? Just like
yeah.
When you have no limitation, basically like that's what Gonzo is. Like there's no limitation of like
a girl boss
of consistency of what girl boss.
Girl
boss or Gonzo.
You know, Ray from Star Wars.
If you let girl boss in, you let anything in, really. Anything that doesn't make sense.
Ray didn't have any character arc. She didn't have any. Nothing could hurt her.
Yeah,
she could fly the Millennium Falcon perfectly the first time.
Yeah, well, that's the Mary Sura. Dragon Shadows say Planescape and Sigil especially made it feel like anything could happen. Yeah, that's true. I don't know why I gave a pass to this one. Maybe because like this city that's the gimmick of the place, right? Just like, oh, it's a city where like all the portal, like, and it's contained enough that I can see like one city that is in this contained space where this happened. It's not like a worldwide thing, right? So maybe I can.
It's like Monsters Inc. It's the backstage where all the monsters hang out and they're all friends with each other and they have lunch together before they're spawned into a world setting somewhere.
Yeah, WWII coming soon. Yeah, we'll just wait until you see my furry tail and my little ear.
Do not.
I really like cats, but at some point my body became mildly allergic to them. I really like cat, but what we're talking about when I say like cat, like role-playing cats, I'm talking about the musical, the Cats musical. I want to do like a session. I want to run a session where the players are jellicle cats. A musical. You want to join us? Do a musical session, Shauner?
No. Who's the guy called in that movie who's going around killing all the cat people? What's his name?
I don't know. I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Cats.
Cats?
Isn't there a guy with a shotgun going around murdering all the cats?
No, I don't. Not in the musical. I don't know about the movies.
He shoots at them while they're on stage doing their singing and dancing.
That's
he takes off his hood and his hat and his Ray-Ban sunglasses, and he pulls out his shotgun and he screams, "I'm in the wrong theater!" and he starts shooting at all of them.
Well, that's probably the fantasy of many men that went that got roped into seeing cats. But like that's my interest in cats. It's such a fucking weird thing, right? You have like the whole fucking musical. Did you ever watch it?
No.
The whole musical is about like some cat
Yeah, it's
that
cat people.
introduce himself. Like they compete to be chosen at the Jellicle Ball, and the whole show is like one cat coming in and introducing himself and explaining why he should be chosen at the ball.
Is it
And
written by that Lloyd Webber guy
I think yeah, was it?
who did Phantom of the Opera and Jesus
I
Christ
think it
Superstar?
was.
And
I think it was. But like no, it was it? It came from a book, and then adapted into a musical. But the thing is, like, if they get chosen, like at the musical, it's like they get like sacrifice and they die and they can be rebirths. There's weird fucking thing, right? Just like, and some cats can do magic for some reason, and just like the whole thing doesn't make sense.
you have to be on LSD when you
It's
watch it.
fucking insane. But and that's why like I kind of want to like there's so many questions left unanswered. I want to explore it. I want to say, you know what, this thing is fucking weird. I want to dive into it.
Do you
That's
think
fun.
RoboCop is Gonzo?
No, I think it's fairly realistic. It's probably gonna
Do you
happen
think
in a few years.
Do you think Starship Troopers is Gonzo?
No, I wish that would happen.
Do you think Total Recall was Gonzo? It had a girl with 3 boobs.
Yeah,
And then the guy with the other guy in his chest.
the Schwarzenegger movie is a little more gonzo than the remake or than the book. They made it
And
a little more city.
there's Gonzo, and then there's Over the Top. Maybe it's not Gonzo,
Yeah.
but you lose your suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
Like there's an atomic bomb. The main hero walks away. He doesn't have a mark on him, and you're like, "Oh, come
like
on!"
not everything that's over the top is gonzo. Like gonzo is really when you like starting to add everything, right? Just like all of a sudden, like
Like you have
Abraham Lincoln.
superheroes in a western with dinosaurs living in
Look what's there.
Hollow Earth.
Got our
Well, hello.
Brazilian friend coming in. Hello, Nicholas. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing good.
Yeah. So what do you think is gonzo?
Yeah, I said Flash Gordon because the only thing I've consumed of Flash Gordon was that movie. Like I remember there's a beholder or something in that movie. Just came off as Gonzo to me.
The guys with the eagle wings.
Yeah.
That's
But
not much.
Aesthetically, it is Gonzo.
But usually they try to they always try to explain it as like, oh, it's an alien species, right? They don't bring in magic and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
but that's like an aesthetic. It's like a skin, like a texture pack. But it's still Gonzo. Just saying it's aliens. I don't know.
But that I guess that maybe fall into the what I was saying. Like oftentimes, like sci-fi, they get away with Gonzo by saying, "Oh, we're going to this different world, so things are different," right? Just like I said, like the original series of Star Trek is kind of Gonzo in that sense. But maybe that's a bit stretching the definition.
What do you think about movies where the mad scientist and he captures people on his island? He shoots down their airplanes with a laser gun. They crash. Then he abducts them, hypnotizes them, and then he shrinks them to the size of a football. And then he goes after them with his shotgun trying to kill them. Is that Gonzo enough?
No,
because that's a real movie. That's a
that's kind of like you only have to stretch your suspension of disbelief a little bit. Your suspension of disbelief a little bit. Like I think the big difference is like Gonzo, like everything goes, and
to me it's Gonzo. Right? If you have the 50-foot tall woman, that's bordering on Gonzo.
Yes,
and then if you have the 5-centimeter tall woman, that's bordering on Gonzo.
I think also like Gonzo. In Gonzo, there's a lot of like end waving, right? There's a lot of like thing like say like, yeah, it's just like how it is, right?
Just, like how does her clothes get big when she got big?
Yeah, and why?
That's what you ask when you're like 6 years old.
You should be ripping off. Come on.
Because the colossal man, when he got big, he started wearing like tarps or something because his underwear was too small. But the girl, she got a pass. Her bra just grew when she grew.
Yeah, I mean, a movie logic. That's like movie logic,
Yeah.
But then you introduce UFOs, vampires, the army with their nukes.
Yeah, clashing elements, right? Clashing themes.
Yeah, like
for some
Godzilla.
reason they're there.
Okay, is Godzilla Gonzo not in the first movie, but let's say 10 movies later when he's fighting like a mecha Godzilla thing with 3 heads, or Hydra Godzilla and the Gamorrean thing and the
It's
moth
pulpy,
thing.
not Gonzo, right?
At some point, does it seem like it's too much, Monster X? Okay. The Kong movie, fighting Godzilla, and Kong has a sword or something, or a sledgehammer. Is that Gonzo?
It's a Max. Yeah, that was a little bit. I don't know. That was a stretch. To me, it felt like goofy.
They were fighting on an aircraft carrier. That was kind of cool, I think.
Yeah, Goofy is the first step to Gonzo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, zany, goofy.
Play in the West Coast, but somebody had to pick a War Forge artificer. Like, yeah, that's the kind of player. Like, I look at him and say, like, you're not gonna be invited back.
Yeah.
Or those dinosaur movies. Was it Jurassic World? Was that Gonzo? The guy's on a motorcycle and he's being chased by dinosaurs, and they're just everywhere. The whole planet's covered with dinosaurs now.
I remember like there was this cartoon when I was not young. I was too old for it, so I didn't really watch it. But it was like when I was like a teenager, I guess. Cadillac and Dinosaur.
Oh,
where
wait.
were like set in the future where people would drive around Cadillac and there was then a dinosaur, and it was also a thing, right?
Yeah, that's a bit Gonzo, I guess. Yeah.
What?
But it's like 2 themes only, right? It's still within Shoner's.
Yeah, it's the Shoner. Like, oh, I take 2 setting. Like that was what we did. Well, what about Cadillacs and Dinosaur? And that how we call that show? Well, Cadillac and Dinosaur.
Yeah, Grips has a game called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs.
Did they?
I don't know where it came from. It's a setting.
Probably from the cartoon.
Yeah.
It's either from a book or a movie or a cartoon.
Yeah.
Maybe the cartoon was based off something else, and
or the other way around. But yeah, that's the whole fucking premise. Like, oh, now for some reason Dinosaur came back to Earth, but people are still driving Cadillac around, and they're fighting Dinosaur from their Cadillac, and just like, okay,
yeah,
I guess
alternate.
That's a premise,
alternate history,
right?
Alternate universe.
What does it say about the human condition, though? Just like, like what's the question you're trying to answer there?
That
you can't go off road with a Cadillac.
I mean, the message is that machines and big animals are cool,
Exactly. Like that's
maybe Toys R Us had Cadillac toys and dinosaur toys, and they sort of merged together.
It's very like shallow, right? It's just that, like, boys like car and boys like dinosaur. Like, let's put them together, right? Just like well,
G.I. Joe cartoon, was that Gonzo?
No,
I never watched it really.
Or Thundar the Barbarian?
Never watched either.
Never watched Thunder, yeah, but I don't think G.I. Joe is, though. Again, it's like one theme's like secret agents, and they have tools which are like cars and weapons.
I never really watched G.I. Joe because like I thought Cobra was right.
Wouldn't that make you want to watch them? Just to see him?
No, because they were always like portrayed as fucking stupid, and they lose for dumb reason. Yeah. Well, I say like, no, those guys got it right. They're the smart one. They should win.
Okay, yeah. That could make you frustrated.
Venture Brothers? Is Venture Brothers Gonzo?
I haven't watched.
It? I don't think so. I haven't watched, but I don't think it was, no?
That one, the setting, the characters in the setting made sense.
Yeah. Can you talk about yourself? I need to go piss.
Sometimes the show would introduce a whole bunch of new characters, and they would get killed in that same episode. So if they were Gonzo, it's like, well, it's only for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just yeah,
like in The Incredibles, right? Or was it The Impossibles? No, it was The Incredibles.
The movie. Yeah.
They're talking about why superheroes don't wear capes, and they would say, "Oh, so and so wore a cape," and then they show him getting killed.
Yeah,
and they say, "Oh, this guy had a cape." They show him getting killed. They're coming up with all these names for 5 seconds of use.
I think that's just cool. Riffing off the genre, like superhero. Like they say, like some like Rayman, like Freeze guy. I think it's just making jokes. Like it's just a joke. But okay, about the Venture Brothers, wouldn't it just be like making fun or riffing off the Kobe, because they're agents, right? Like secret agent team isn't
It's
like
it's a mishmash. There's secret agents. There's Hardy Boys mystery detectives. There's superheroes. There's Johnny Quest,
Yeah.
scientist. There's
I
robots.
don't know if that's going to because like I mean again I didn't watch it, but like
There's
is there like
super villains.
something is that something that way out of hand that made you be like, this is weird. Like why is this going on? Because the show presents
There-
itself as
they did
like funny.
they did like a takeoff of Clone Wars, Star Wars Clone Wars or whatever.
Yeah.
The one that had all of the who was the guy that invented the stormtroopers? Anyway,
the Django Fett?
yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
They build all these stormtroopers and they're gonna do the Clone War thing. Well, Venture Brothers did a funny take on that. And they had a Clone Wars episode, and it was just it was over the top. It wasn't Gonzo; it was just over the top violence and gore. But that was just for their either a Christmas special episode or it was their season ender episode.
Yeah. Let me say hi to Jumpsuit John that joined us for the first time. Hello,
Hey,
John.
man.
Jumpsuit John.
Well, hello.
How's it going, everybody? What's going on?
Going fine yourself?
Doing okay. I think I've got a pretty good idea, pretty good nail down on what Gonzo is, and I can kind of track it from a historical point, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You know the origin?
Well, so the introduction of Gonzo, when we take a look at the earlier settings of Dungeons and Dragons, there was a module that was released pretty early on that was bog standard D&D, but what they added as far as the dungeon was concerned was the exploration of a spaceship. So if we take a look at what Gonzo is supposed to be definitionally, it's two opposite genres clashing, and you have to make that work somehow, right? From this, we got the original 1980s Gamma World. If you know anything about that system, the premise was all of the universes that could have potentially happened all formed into one at one time for like 1 second. And so now you live in a world where you can have Nikola Tesla's robot army. You can have dinosaur people, dinosaurs in general, cowboys running around, octopus people. And I think there's something to be said. You were talking about it earlier, Jean, or whenever you were talking about like, is it such a bad idea to have everything thrown at the character at once? And I would have to argue that it's not a bad thing. And here's what I mean. A lot of times you can drip feed the Gonzo, but there's also a benefit in saying, hey, look, here's the world. Figure it out. Like, you've got to work around all these problems.
Yeah, I would argue that Gamma World was the Gonzo of the bunch back then.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It was the Gonzo, but it was a derivation of that original early D&D module.
Yeah. And another one, well, a newer one would be Mutant Epoch, which I never see anyone talk about on YouTube. Maybe I'll have to start doing that. But that's where you can mutate into anything. Random character generation, and you're a mutant after the atomics. You can be anything. And most of the randomness is
premise,
Gonzo.
right? Whenever I made a comment earlier about limitation of player agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you have random rolling, you take the most agency out of that play. You don't have the 20 minutes of, hey, go roll up a fighter or a wizard and take 16 minutes in session 0. You got these two things, figure it out, make it work together, force yourself to be creative. And now we're going to jump into an even more weird world where you're going to have to be even more creative because you don't know what's around the next corner.
Yeah, I don't hate the random character generation because like it can be a challenge. Like, oh no, I don't need to play this guy. Okay, well I'm gonna do, and it forces you to think about this thing. Like, what would that guy would be, right? I got those set of stats, this background, whatever. Now, who that guy would be? I think that can be interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing that I'm coming to find with Gonzo currently, right? Okay. I don't think, because when we talk about definitions, especially definitions of certain things within fandoms or even playing, definitions change over time like crazy, right? Yes. So the original 1980s definition would have been like, 2 clashing worlds coming together, and you've got to figure your way through that. Gonzo now is, what's this goofy thing I can throw in that just makes no sense?
Because like when you say that, like two different genre clashing together, I feel like that's now like basic, right? Two genre clashing together. Like you need to have more than two. Like when you start like three, no, like I'm looking at that as Gonzo. Like two is just like okay, right? It's just like samurai.
Well, Firefly is Western future, Western space, something like that. But if you add a third thing to Firefly,
it's
which
like,
would be
you got like the Predator from the like those Predator movie in the Crusade time, right? Oh, then you're now
Doctor Strange together, and all of his things.
Yeah. But when you start adding a third one, now you're getting silly. Like, not well, you're pushing too far.
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon got pretty wild there for a minute. It was originally
I don't know much
just
about it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was find the Sailor Scouts, and then it turned to these reverse moon people, and then it turned to who knows.
Magic
Girls. I know there's like a Sailor Moon RPG made by Mark. What is his name? This Canadian guy, Mark McKinnon.
Oh, there's a bunch probably.
Yeah, I don't know. You got the license, right? They got to do a big eyes, small.
So it is a licensed one. Yeah, didn't know about that.
I think so. Maybe I'm talking all my ass.
Well, I guess maybe where I started running into Gonzo was when in college, people would just complain how they were running a game and players just showed up with their own characters and none of them seemed to fit the setting the GM had planned for.
Yeah.
But would you use the word Gonzo?
Yeah, they used the Gonzo word back then.
Yeah.
This is back in 80.
What about
88, 87.
Here's a question for you. Cowboy and Aliens, this movie, was that Gonzo? And Wild Wild West, was that Gonzo? Which one is Gonzo year?
Aliens?
Well, steampunk is always going to be Gonzo, right?
Yes, no? I think so. It's fucking stupid. I hate it.
Dr. Lovelace, in one episode, Dr. Lovelace escapes in a painting. An oil painting.
In what?
Like he jumps into like Super Mario 64?
I don't know. They don't show him doing it, but it's got like a magical painting in a frame, and he goes inside it to hide, and they box it up, and they're shipping it to some museum, and that's... they don't know he's in the painting. He's in that universe that was...
I don't think like the Gonzo thing, like ask you... Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
So this is like Looney Tunes logic, like you paint a tunnel into a wall.
Yeah.
And,
like that's the thing.
He was using dark arts to do the thing, though. Like the portrait of Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
Is that Gonzo?
No.
Well, that would bring into a good subject is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Gonzo.
Yes.
But see, that leads back to the Venture Brothers then.
Really? Yeah. I don't know, because like all of them like kind of within the same like what is it, like
Captain Nemo,
period.
the Invisible Man.
Like but like the logic of their world kind of clash with each other, no?
To answer your
like
question,
once the setting like ask you, like tell you basically like don't think too much about it, you entering Gonzo territory.
Yeah, Ghostbusters, is that Gonzo?
I think you're correct, but I also think there needs to be like this, an almost absurd, weird twist to the world. To your point of Venture Brothers, it is Gonzo. Mostly because it's like Walker, Texas Ranger, if you've ever watched the show. Everything is real in that episode. So one episode, you'll have an artificial intelligence that talks through the mind of a young boy. And then the next episode, Indian spirit magic is real. Like, yeah. It's almost to this respect of like, yes, all of these things happen at one time, but there's a weird, almost outlandish, like this could never happen element to make it Gonzo. Like, I don't know. It's almost an ephemeral concept of like, there's these different settings, but there's this one through line that's just absolutely abstract and out there that makes it this weird Gonzo.
Here's Gonzo's. The Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein or the werewolf or vampires, whatever.
But that is, I don't know. That's just silly. That's just like weird, like comedy, right? Just like like I guess if you take like the Abbott and Costello.
Well, see, Mad World is comedy to me.
If you take like Abbott and Costello, the movie that they did or the show that they did as a whole, right? And you say like, oh, that's all. You try to make it all a whole consistent universe. That'll be fucking Gonzo because there's no consistency there. But if you take every one of them
Yeah,
as a
you're
separate
right.
thing, yeah, okay, it's just like a
They're always their
stupid thing.
characters are always the same.
Yeah, but like
One-
they're not.
one
I
guy's-
don't think
one
they're
guy-
meant to be like one unified universe. No, every movie is supposed to be taken as a standalone.
Every movie takes place on the same movie lot, basically.
I don't know, because for me, a lot of it is about that. Is that internal consistency, right?
Or can you take a Gonzo role-playing game seriously?
That's the question.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
a
big
good question.
question. Because like that's what I
Yeah.
was about to ask. Like we can
Yeah.
sit here and don't get me wrong, it's a good thing to do. We can sit here and talk about what Gonzo is or isn't. But the question is when we think about it from a player perspective, is it worth it? Like is it even worth it to try to play it?
Well, that's that's a
Okay.
great thing I wanted to talk about, right? What does it say about you? Like people that make like those weird setting, right? And just like they just want to make like everything that they think they're cool, that they think is cool. They're just like, yeah, just let throw it in the setting. Oh yeah, because it's cool. Don't think too much about it. It's just cool to have like big robot. It's just cool to have like those aliens. It's just cool to have magic, right? Throw everything in.
Or the
What does it say about you
Charlemagne,
as a player,
the
as a
planet,
human being?
the planet that has Charlemagne stuff going on, Sword in the
Charlemagne
Stone.
stuff?
That's our planet.
King Arthur.
That's not
The king-
Charlemagne, though. You're talking about
That's
my
not
grandfather.
Which one's the Charlemagne?
Charlemagne is the king of the Franks.
Or which one's the King Arthur?
That's King Arthur.
Arthur?
They're different king. One is in France or Germany, and one is in
Okay,
England.
I just merged them
Or
together. Was there
Wales, I guess.
was there a sword in the stone for
That's
Charlemagne?
Archer.
That's Arthur, yeah.
No. Well, there's a
Or
sword.
maybe
in
I'm
the
maybe I'm
stone
thinking
for
of
Charlemagne,
Camelot.
but
Which one's
it's not for
Camelot
Charlemagne,
then?
But from Roland. Camelot
Which
is
one's Camelot?
Archer. That's Archer.
Okay.
Camelot's King
merged-
Arthur. That's like the whole Arthurian legend.
Yeah, and
Maybe
and
I'm getting
Archer
Camelot
is
and
a fictional
Charlemagne mixed up.
character, most likely, or most like what we know from him is fictional, while Charlemagne is a real guy. It's a historical
Yeah.
figure.
Okay. So the lost my train of thought. Someone else take a turn.
Yes, so
The
answering
question
the
was, is it
question-
worth it to actually play Gonzo? And
Yeah.
to your point, right? Like, yeah, you might be throwing in all these weird elements just because they're cool. And don't get me wrong. Look, first and foremost, whenever I do anything, rule of cool does apply in a lot of things, mostly from a creative sense of like making something new. But you still have to understand that there are still rules to a world. Like BattleTech being an example, right? Like, yeah, giant robots are cool. They don't work in real life at all.
Yeah, they don't make sense. Well, I guess like in BattleTech, there's this thing where like combat is almost like a ritualized thing, from what I understand. Like they're like jousting, right? Just like they don't make sense. They don't do the giant robot because it's the most efficient way to do warfare. They do it because it's this noble thing to do. No.
They had him in Avatar.
Yeah, but it's stupid. There's no reason to do it.
Exosuits, they're pretty big. Basically, they punch for you.
Like there's a reason why we don't have them in real world, right? Just because there's always a better way to do it.
Well, here's the funny thing, right? Like,
How do you sell toys then?
the way they made it work, insofar as BattleTech, as far as giant robots, well, how do these giant robots stand? Well, they're made of muscles. They don't have gears and actuators and rotors. They actually have metallic muscles, and that's what operates them. Now, okay, great. You can hand wave that away. You can hang a lantern on that, say, yeah, that's great, and that works. Now, the big thing behind why the rule of cool in BattleTech works is because now that you have this thing where the players can kind of hand wave things away. And now it's like, all right, we have that established in the back of people's mind. That's great. Now we can just throw whatever the hell we want on top of it and people will just accept it. And with that, you're right. In BattleTech, the big lore behind it is that like, yeah, they don't really work even really in the setting of BattleTech. Throughout the history of BattleTech, there were certain points where the battle mech was thrown away almost because tanks are just better. But I mean, first and foremost, let's go back to the original. Let's go to the meta reason. Like your entire setting's about giant robots. You can't get rid of giant robots. Like,
nope.
So the way that they work it is, an advancement creep, a technology creep, and then of course the nation states falling apart and pretty much everything is just left over. And what do we have left over? Oh, we have all the Bay Queens that never moved out of the freaking hangar. These are the battle mechs, and that's what we got left. So we might as well fight with these.
Yeah.
And plus, the bad guys have them too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or they're
Well,
at least the
yeah.
same size as the robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if we were to take BattleTech and put it into a real, like I was in the Army, right? If we were going to take BattleTech and put it into a real setting, you would not have a million different variants of anything. You would have like two.
One with rockets and one with missiles.
Well, one
Exactly.
fast and one tough, right? Basically, yeah.
Well,
One
take a look at
80
the American
caliber,
military.
150 caliber.
We have an M1 Abrams and an M23 Bradley. That's two. That's two main battle tanks, and one of them's not even a tank. It's an infantry fighting vehicle, and that's it. So, like, the entire setting is based around 1980s rule of cool. And if we're going to go talk about Gonzo as far as that's concerned, Gonzo is trying to epitomize the rule of cool, right? Like, let's throw it all in and just be cool. And that's great.
Remember in the 80s, we were all supposed to be thinking Japanese in the 80s.
Oh, absolutely. Like, that was the point.
And now it's Chinese.
Japan was making all the cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's even personified in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The main vampire guy, his sword was a katana.
Yeah.
Let's be real. That was the zeitgeist of the time. Oh, Japan. That's the cool thing.
Yeah.
But
and they made RoboCop, and we all believed it. And Gundam, or whatever it's called.
My point about like when we do Gonzo and Rule of Cool and stuff like that, like for me, like, and that goes back to what Nicholas was saying earlier, like that guy need to be special, realizing that what makes his character special is his personality. Like for me, like when I play role playing game, what I'm focused about, like what I'm obsessed about, like what I engage in that hobby, the sole reason is for the role play, right? And for me, the role play is getting into the mindset of a character. It's not about like having this cool stuff and like and being told by the GM like, oh, and now a giant robot shows up, and then say like, what, giant robot? That's so cool. I don't fucking care about that, right? It's just like for me, what I want to be in the mindset of somebody else and think like, okay, in that situation, how would that guy who is not me react? I want to explore that. I want to explore the emotion, this feeling. I always like look at humanity from the outside, so now like, I get the chance to slip in a bit, right? Just like, so, and figure out like how would it be to be a person in that circumstance. If you throw too much shit at me, I cannot do that anymore because like that will fucking break my mind, right? Just like then like the world is so different. I have like no basis. I got nothing to base my judgment upon, right?
Yeah, is Earth even Earth anymore?
Exactly. Like, are people still people anymore? That's my question. Like, Earth not being Earth, I can live with that. People not being people. Like when you throw too much shit at it, like it would break people so much. It would change human nature so much that I have nothing to base my role play on.
Or TikTok.
Right? And
TikTok is a brain implant in everybody.
Oh God!
Everybody's
might as well be, you know.
Oh, so we're moving into a horror setting now. I get it.
Well, dystopian.
Yeah.
Are there dystopians that are gonzo, or are they just dystopian?
Well, that's
we're living in a dystopia now. Like fucking show like show image of modern day to people in the 50s, right? They're gonna be horrified. We're living in a dystopia.
I mean, Gamma World for the most part is dystopian. The whole concept is the world's a gigantic wreck. Civilization never crawls past like small villages that every other Thursday get burnt down. So,
man, sometimes like I'm going political now. Like, I'm getting drunk, I guess. But you look at that fucking like a dystopian movie that were made like in the 60s or 80s or 90s, right? And you look at the world that they pick and say like, well, you know, maybe I would rather live in that world than the world that we're living now.
Their nightmares were much nicer than reality ones.
Yeah,
exactly.
Much simpler.
He just had to worry about vampires at night and stuff, and he lived by himself.
Always look at the Taxi Driver, right? When they try to showcase how like dirty and disgusting the city is, like New York City is. It's like,
yeah,
you know, that looked pretty nice. Even though it was just in that movie, they look pretty
worst that could happen was the trash would pile up. You know, the garbage collectors would go on strike. That's about the worst that could happen.
Yeah. But yeah, so
people are leaving New York City now. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, and it's business and there's like, yeah. But that's my point, right? Just like it depends what you are like looking for in the role playing game experience.
Yeah.
Like for me,
What you want to take out of the game, you know.
exactly.
What do you
For
want?
me,
What do you want out of this game?
yeah. Go ahead, talk.
No, yeah, I was just like answering your question, original question, like what do you want out of the game? Like, you want to be a cowboy and fight aliens? Like, okay, but then why have ninjas and
Yeah. It goes back to, do you want to play like a? Are you just doing like this? Playing like a bunch of stat, playing like I'm playing a level 1 fighter, or I'm playing like this mech guy that is in a big suit of armor. And who is it? Who is that character? Well, he's got a big suit of armor. You know, if that's your answer, right? Maybe the Gonzo
What-
setting is right for you, right? Just then
What-
go have fun, go shoot
What if-
vampire, then like Dog Boy, and then like those other thing that is weird.
What if your character is a cowboy from 1904 and the automobile is starting to show up everywhere, and the train shows up and cities are coming around,
That's interesting. I hate
and
trains.
you have to you have to switch over to city life, but you're a cowboy. Is
Yeah.
that Gonzo, or is the
No.
cowboy character now the Gonzo character in the group?
No, that's not Gonzo. That's very interesting. That's really telling about the human condition. That's like, because you have to think about that. The people that always flee west, right, westward, right? They were always like trying to move away of civilization, but civilization will always catch up to them. And at some point, there was the ocean. There was nowhere left to go, and then like your way of life would go away. That's an interesting question to explore.
Like Clint Eastwood's character, where would that character go once cities start showing up and
Go up,
cops?
and then you start going up north.
And not only that, but everything that Clint Eastwood character knows as far as the ways to properly act are completely alien now.
Yeah,
like
That's
once, like back in the day, right? And this is a thing that people, especially Western movies, get wrong, right? You always see these Western movies where everybody curses or says the F word or something like that. And listen, back in the day, if you did that, you got shot.
yeah.
Like that was the reality of those situations. So now you have a person moving into a world where mobsters are starting to pop up. You have urban civilization life, and then you have a cowboy, this Clint Eastwood, that walks into a place and somebody just calls him a moron. And according to Clint Eastwood's morals, he just pops a cap on the guy, right? Like, is that Gonzo?
What'd you call
Maybe
me?
it's more fish out of water, I guess.
Yeah, I think I said it well there. It's the fish out of water.
They do the duel outside, Hollywood style.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah. There was this comment earlier that Nicholas made. Shonner can do the Simpsons Planet of the Apes musical skit, and I want to see that.
Dr. Zayas.
Dr. Zeus, Dr. Zeus.
Don't put that song in my head.
Yeah.
I already heard it.
Do not.
Let it free.
I hate
What is that? What is
every
it? The music
song I
goes.
use.
It goes with "Rock Me Amadeus." Is that it's sung to that tune, right?
Yeah, that's essentially the point.
Okay.
Go ahead, Shonner. We're listening.
Was it
Give us your
Falco that
incident.
sang that song? I'm just thinking of where it came from. Is all.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
I
like
just heard
Was that in the
credits.
cartoon, or was that just something they made for YouTube?
No, it wasn't.
No, it is. It is an
A
episode.
good
Yeah.
episode. Yeah. Yeah. Nicholas joined the stream. Talk about Numenera. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I'm on a special mission here. Yeah, because you're talking about, is Numenera Gonzo? I think if you go by the book, yes, very much. But we are not going by the book in our
Do
game.
you get? Oh, you're not going by the book. Okay.
No,
I mean, no, yeah,
Otherwise,
we have the
you get
setting,
that
but we're not,
vibe.
like
You get that
we're not-
vibe that your character's mission is to just go out and explore and find relics and hopefully not die trying to operate the things the first time.
Yeah, that's like the main thing. Wait, you're talking about our game or
Just in
Numenera in
Numenera
general?
in general.
Yeah. The book says that, like, you're going out and exploring and trying to not die. But that's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
much
like,
every game.
I found this thing. It still works. It's from 1 billion years ago, but I don't know what it is, and I'm going to try to operate the thing, and you end up frying your brain.
You know, that's funny because that's really much so Charlemagne related, right? Charlemagne had those paladin. The term paladin come from some knights that Charlemagne named that. and their job was to go out and find books and scrolls from the ancient world and preserve
There
them.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But-
religiously relic as well, like because Charlemagne was
that's
really
right.
like,
So what is the impetus for going out and finding relics? Because I always have this problem, not really a problem, but like in settings that have a pretty vague beginning, what would be the impetus? Like, are you forced to do this? Do you choose to do this? What are we going?
I think that's a character. Like, you have to think, why does my character want to do this? So that's like on the player's part, like creating a character that wants to do stuff. Like, you don't want to play like a guy that just wants to sit his butt all day, you know? You don't want to play a neat. You want to play someone who goes out and do stuff.
needs go out and do stuff. I went to the beach today.
There you go. That's your adventure for the
Yeah,
month.
exactly, that's my adventure.
Your quest.
I go to the beach every day, though.
Yeah, like my character in the game we were playing, for example. Like, I was playing this mage, but I'm playing him more like as a cleric, as a priest. And the whole thing is that like they worship this dead machine god that is orbiting the planet, and the cult want to restore it. So he wants to go out and find stuff because then he can like revive his god. So that's why he wants to go out and do stuff.
Something I say often.
So to learn
Believe-
about technology, then
Yeah. Well,
Sorry?
to learn
your
about technology.
character's learning about technology or looking for
Yeah.
instructions.
Yeah, anything that
necessarily,
can. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
like
know.
that. That's good stuff.
I'm
But
playing him.
one thing I often say is like belief informed behavior, right?
Yeah.
So you have to think about what your character believes, and then
Yeah.
he's going to act on those beliefs.
In
And
Book
then,
of
like,
Eli, there's a
I'm the
guy
only
collecting books.
But the Bible
Like
was
he
in
wants
Braille.
he wants to make a library or something. Some people just want to rebuild libraries. Like the guy in the time machine, he wants to go into the far future to teach people how to read. So he's bringing books with him. Is that Gonzo?
People
That's a
Uh,
little gonzo, but that's like a good gonzo. I like that.
That's kind of goofy.
Is he
but,
wasting his time simping for that one girl who can't read?
Man, I wish I would
There's,
find.
there's
them.
still gonna be
That's
Morlocks.
a philosophical question.
The Morlocks win in the future, so what's the point? Just bring her back
No,
here.
no, the sun wins in the future.
Well, that
The sun?
happens too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun burns the
Yeah,
earth.
the sun burns the earth. I can't wait.
All my
Well,
exposition to
wait.
that is from the Futurama.
We still got like 4 billion years to go.
Yeah.
Not soon enough. Not soon enough.
Not soon enough. Can we speed it up?
We're just gonna start laaching gasoline into the freaking sun,
Yeah.
so that way we can
I'm
speed
Exactly.
gonna
it
go turn on my
Well-
car and leave it all night. I'm kidding. If John Wick qualifies,
I remember-
Wick look qualify as well. I remember he could outgun his own shadow. That
Okay,
wasn't like
and-
Gonzo. He was just like very skillful, but also I don't
Ray-
think it was literal.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, the scene with Marion, is that her name? She outdrinks this guy under the table,
Yeah.
and then there's gunshots going on, and then she's totally alert. She's not drunk at all.
Yeah.
In like 5 seconds.
Gonzo verified.
I don't know. I
See-
think I would like stretch the Gonzo's definition.
Because when I saw the movie with my dad,
Let's
I
just go.
said,
boss.
I said, no way. She's perfectly fine after 50 shots of whiskey. And then my dad's like, forget that. The gunshots don't even sound realistic in this cantina.
Yeah, but your dad was a
Yeah.
weird case.
Like the
Yeah.
guns they're using wouldn't sound like this in the.
Your dad was anti-imagination.
Everybody's got their thing, man. Everybody's got their tick.
Yeah, you
Everybody
got raised by a robot.
Because he
and you
could
don't
tell, you know, I'm only what 14, 15. He can tell when the movies use recorded ammunition shots from the 30s or whatever.
know.
Yeah.
Alien
my
or
dad-
robot? you don't know.
My dad did the same thing whenever we watched the Saw movie. First Saw movie, right? Got
Yeah.
done with the movie. I was like, what'd you think? That was pretty wild, right? And he goes, no, it's not wild at all. The guys are just idiots. I'm like, what do you mean he's idiots? He's like, you know the
Yeah.
pipe that the guy's chain was onto? I said, yeah. He said, what was the saw in his hands? I said, I don't know. He's like, it was a pipe saw. If the guy had literally sawed the pipe off, he would have been fine. That was the whole purpose behind the pipe saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess
Stop
like,
ruining the movie.
yeah. I hate that's what I hate. I hate when some like once like, I get the suspension of disbelief, like, but at some point, like, don't just ask me to turn your brain off, right? Just like, you know what, like, I this hobby is some way that I engage my brain, right? It's some way, it's that's what we're in for, right? I
Oh yeah,
do I do sport to engage my body. I do role playing game to engage my brain, right? If you and I watch movie or read book, if I read book, which I'm against, but that's a different topic. But like to engage my brain, right? So stop asking me to turn my brain off.
exactly.
Oh
Those
no,
guys,
true,
those
100%.
GMs that have the
And
10
and
tips.
that's what I'm saying. Like if I think about what you're presenting me like for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, and I realize, oh, I put more thought in that than you did, then you did it wrong, right? Just
What if you make a
I
character
should
and you
not
show
use
up to
much.
a game, and then the GM role plays your character for you? What
Oh
would you
my
do?
well,
god,
that's
gag me with a spoon. I hate it
that's
when that
how.
happens.
You were just there to roll dice for him while he plays his solo
Yeah.
adventure.
Yeah. Well, I don't join those games. Like I should do this one day with the guys, right? No, they're not listening, right? Just like oh, I'm gonna run a
Yeah,
session for you guys, and then just come up with the
Show
player
up,
and be like, oh, you do this.
show up.
do it
Yeah,
live as
disguise your
well.
voice. Use an AI for your voice. Turn your camera off and go into one of these guys' live sessions. See how long you
Yeah.
can last.
That was a problem. I actually talked about this in one of my videos that I did for a period of time, I was kind of out of the whole role playing scene, and I decided to get back into it by jumping into a couple Twitch streams of people playing Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
just to see a little taste of nostalgia. And every single one of them had the most, oh my god, the dumbest freaking premises that they thought were just high art. They
Mhm.
thought it was the best thing. Oh my god, it killed me. It really did. I was like, this is where it went. Nobody's
That
got
was
a
the
Yeah.
plan.
80s. That was
You
the
see,
80s
wait,
for me.
what you're saying there, like that's a big point. I have a problem. Like people like think, like, oh, I got this whole original idea that's never been done before. Right? First, usually it has been done before, and secondly, it's most likely stupid. Like they go with the eye concept thing, which you can only like stay on the surface because like if you go deep, then it break down, right?
Mm.
But no, I want some depth. I want like go with something simple that we can like fucking deep dive into it and say like, "Oh, that's what I want. That's where the juice is, right? It's much more well, it's sweeter, but I'm not a sweet guy. But for people like at home watching that,
For normal people.
for normal people, exactly. Like the
Yeah,
sweeter like thing is when you go deep into one simple thing instead of like going like this eye concept fucking idea that don't think too much about it because it's
Can
gonna
you give
break
an
down,
example?
but it's
Can you give an
cool.
example?
What?
Like, can you give an example of a high concept setting or idea?
Okay, I'll give you the perfect one. I'll actually quote verbatim what happened in that Twitch stream that I jumped onto. All right. So I jump onto the Twitch stream. They're in the middle of it. Everybody's huddled around their little cameras, like they're just waiting for somebody, like the foot to drop or somebody to take off their top or something like that. And the whole premise behind it is the GM is literally the only one talking to your point, Sean, or whatever. You have nothing but the
Yeah.
GM doing but narrating an entire diatribe that they think is great, and they're actually shit at, pardon the language, they're actually terrible at it. But like the whole premise was this, right? Like nobody was talking, but the GM was talking about this beautiful elven lady who was in a village
hate
that
that.
hated the Viking ladies, but they were bringing this Viking lady that liked it was Romeo and Juliet between two lesbians, and it was so great and fantastic. And oh my
Was
god,
she
gag me
thirsty?
with a spoon.
Kill me now.
This has been done before and better.
And you see, like when you said John, like if you allow me to just call you John, but like oftentimes like eye concept thing, they want to teach you something. They want to lecture you about something. That's oftentimes something we see as well. Like like it's like Avatar, like the Cameron movie
Yeah.
we're talking about. Like that would be like an eye concept
A
stuff.
message. They have a
And
message.
exactly, it's a message. Like
Yeah.
they're trying to teach you something. It's not about like like they have something for you to learn from
You're
that
a bad
thing, right?
person until you
And I
play
say
this
like that's
game with
also
them.
that's a mistake as well. If you present the setting, you should come up like be
Yeah.
earnest about it. Be honest. Like come up with like, oh, there's this thing in the world, there's a conflict in the world. Don't have the answer because you're there at the table as a GM with the player. let's
The
explore
players
that
should
together.
like direct where things are going anyway,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. If you come in the GM as like, oh, I have this eye concept for this campaign. This is what we're gonna do. Like, there's the world is this, and there's this conflict, and there's
This is what
those
we're
people, and
gonna
stuff like that. And
let's
like,
start.
and you already have like the moral of the story in your mind.
Yeah, and
Then you're just
you're in
gonna
the
guide people on it, right? Just like,
you're in
oh,
the
like,
tavern for 2 hours. Why were we info dumped all this stuff and we never get to leave the tavern for 2 hours?
that's a problem. But you know, but what I'm talking about, like, if you have like, if you're trying to pass a message, you're doing it wrong. Try to figure out something. Like, you know, I often say, like, do I still have that in my description there? Dialectic, not debate.
Can you imagine if these people did
Yeah, I
slavery in
still
their
have that.
game
Yeah.
sessions and they
No
don't know
debate,
how
but
to?
dialectic. That's what I see in the rules there in my description box, right? For people that join. I hope you read them, John, before joining. But yeah, dialectic, not debate, right? No debate, but dialectic. We're trying to figure out what's true together, right? And I think in the role playing game, the same thing is there. Like, if I'm not trying to lecture my player. I want to explore an idea. And I
Yeah.
think that's important as well.
Yeah, there's a good way to do slavery in your game, and there's a bad way.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek had good ways of exploring slavery without really saying much about it. They would
Yeah.
have episodes, you know, morality play type stuff.
But
Those are the
people
good Star
today
Trek
can't
episodes,
do
yeah.
people can't do slavery topics anymore today.
But yeah, because like,
It's
now
too
that's the
triggering.
thing. Yeah, and now it's like, oh, now slavery is bad, guy. Let's fight the slaver and stuff like that. But what if you do like, well, there's slavery in this world, and your character are from this world. Those
What
characters
if
think
Yeah,
that
you
slavery
do?
is normal,
Your character knows more than the player does as far as how they think what slavery is.
and they grew up in that world with slavery. It's not a new
Yeah.
thing. It's not like an unusual
Exactly.
thing for them. You know.
Here's a weird
Like,
concept that I
that's-
don't believe, but here we go. What if the slaves deserved it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of
I
them
mean,
do for being
Yeah,
weak.
what if they're prisoners or something? Like they lost the war. They were trying to take over the fantasy realm. They
A good
lost.
a good
Or they
example
look
of that is
different.
actually a historical concept. I forget the king, but it was somewhere in like Romania, right? So this kingdom had been attacked by another kingdom trying to take them over. So what the king of the invaded kingdom did was he took all the soldiers, he literally blinded, it was like 300 soldiers, and he blinded every 10 but left one with eyes. And he mutilated the other people. And then he said, okay, go back to your home. So essentially, he marched this blind army with maybe like 3 people all the way back. That was just an okay thing to do back in the day.
And you create a
Like-
huge burden on the people, right? On the
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like no one can play. Like, and don't get me wrong. Like, I can understand with the current zeitgeist why people would avoid those things because it is pretty
Yeah.
brutal topics. But like, come on, man, give a little bit of something, some depth to it.
but they're interesting to explore, right? Then there's like it's interesting to put yourself like that's one thing that roleplay can do. You can put yourself in the mindset of somebody from that time that would think that's something normal to do, right? That's something, or maybe it's not normal, but it's a bit extreme. But it's the king, so why not? You can put yourself in that mindset, and you can explore that, and you can think about how would it be to be that guy, right? Like people like that's one thing. Like people like fucking role play themselves all the time. Like they role play themselves. They put themselves in fucking like the sword coast or whatever gay shit they do now in 5e. But basically they're themselves with
play
their own
Scooby-Doo.
value. Like what? There's no gay right? They don't respect trans right in that fucking setting. Let's change that. And now the adventure becomes like, what the fuck are you doing? Like that's like nobody in that world would think about that. That like you're fucking dragons around, right? Just like
They
go
don't
fucking
use
deal with that
pronouns.
shit.
They don't
Yeah.
change what their
Yeah,
pronouns are.
exactly. Yeah, that's fucking like I
Yeah.
want to like the whole fucking like combat wheelchair and bullshit like that. Like
Patriarchy.
you're not fucking role playing. You're just like bringing your own
Yeah.
fucking set of value. Like
Activists.
there's
They're just activists.
no capacity of empathy. Like you cannot like the whole thing like sympathy is projecting your own feeling onto somebody else. Empathy is on understanding somebody else's feeling, somebody else that is
Yeah.
not you's feeling. Right? Big
That's
difference.
why
They're unable to have any empathy. They're just like
That's
projecting
why I
all
say-
emotion and feeling about their character. Right? That's not interesting.
That's why I say there's a shortage of role players. There's
No,
not a
you're absolutely
shortage of
right.
GMs.
You're absolutely right. There's a shortage of players.
Yes, you're absolutely right on that, Shonar, like always.
Like, listen, anybody and their grandmother can become a DM. Like, it's what like, listen, yeah, anybody can do it. But to have a
Especially
good
if you do
player,
it right, which you shouldn't do. You shouldn't be doing most of the talking. You should do less than 50% of talking, right? Just
yeah, no, there's a shortage of good players.
yeah.
There really is. There's people that just want to go in and be told a story by a weirdo sitting behind a dungeon master screen, as opposed to an entire group of people that want to have an interactive setting with their friends.
Yeah. That's something
Well, in
like
the
you say that
80s
like that's something I like my like what I always say, like, don't tell me a story, bro, right? I'm not there, like, don't make your fucking player audience member, right? They're supposed to be active participant.
in the 80s, the dungeon master often read a book, a fantasy book.
Well,
and
still
the
not.
players
They still do
didn't.
that. Professional
Yeah,
GM.
they still do it now, probably. But the players didn't read the book. But the GM wants to run a game based on the novel he just read. So the players are clueless as to the setting. So they just sit there and they take it while the GM role plays their characters for them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what is it? It's the players asking Mother May I questions.
Let me
Can my character do this?
Yeah. Exactly. That's what happened. When you have like those trick setting, oh, I'm gonna run you to this setting, like, then you have like those Mother May I question. Exactly. Like, let me quickly go to the chat before I'm too well, I guess I'm not gonna get any drunker now because I'm out of
You're
wine.
gonna be smashed.
I'm out of wine. I just finished my bottle. Ever watched Live Girl from Beyond Infinity? Anybody
Never
here?
heard of it.
I haven't, but the name sounds interesting.
Yeah, it just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Beyond Infinity.
Well, that's not the part I was interested in.
Oh, slave girls? They're everywhere. Just look outside. Well, I look out my window. There's slave girls outside. It's normal.
Gonzo combines conflicting genre trope into the same setting.
It's a pretty good broad definition, I would say.
Yep. Yeah, Zed said, I don't know my sailor lore. Well, go work on that, man, so we can do like this.
Me too, man. I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Listen, man. Yeah, Sailor Moon was like, he was that in Dragon Ball growing up.
Right? Like, the Inquisitor Dungeon say it's real. I bought a Sailor Moon RPG for my girlfriend once upon a time. Must be nice.
Here's the real question. Did she like it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can take Gonzo seriously, take itself seriously. 40K and 2000 AD. I don't know 2000 AD or Gonzo, but I think roleplay in the 40K
That's
or
Judge Dredd.
I think would be relatively smooth and meaningful, right?
Judge Dredd.
2000 AD.
Judge Dredd?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. There's vampires in Judge Dredd.
Is there?
Yeah, there are dinosaurs and yeah.
What?
Yeah, if you read the old comic books, man, there was an Egyptian mummy in freaking Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
I had no
outside
idea
of the
about
main
that.
city, like
It was British
happened.
sci-fi, so
I only know the movies.
Oh, they're pretty good.
Yeah, the comics are
they're good.
crazy.
Based 1999.
I like both.
Every
movies.
week, the moon is in orbit around another planet.
Really?
When you're 9 years old, you think this is cool stuff.
Like, say it's because 40K and Dread have internal logic and consistently they take seriously themselves. I think that's a big important to like the setting.
I mean, it is a setting.
Seriously, yeah.
It is an established lore when they do the Gonzo stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not Gonzo if it's lore.
Doodle Squash say an M1A2 would get a headshot on a mech almost every time. What do you think, John?
Okay, here's the real. Okay, this part's gonna make people mad that are like army guys, right? Now, listen. Yes, within the distance that an M1A2 can actually shoot, which I'll go into a funny story after this. Yes, it could. The problem, and this is the one problem that battle mechs, like the biggest issue that every other natural or normal vehicle would have against a battle mech, and it's literally an LRM. I can lock onto your target from over a mountain and fire a barrage of missiles on your tank before you can ever get a lineup shot. And I know this is true. Why? Because I went to Korea. And in Korea, what was the most dangerous weapon in that entire theater? It was the MLRS, the multi-launch rocket launcher. A tank within both countries of North and South Korea could only fire its gun at maximum range in 2 locations between 2 countries, and it was over 2 lakes. So if you have a long-range missile in a certain kind of environment, a mech would destroy an M1A2. And you can go back and forth, but
man, I would play like a battle like MechWarrior 5 on the computer game, like a video game. And LRM was kind of shit. You'll go like with a SRM.
You're right, but let's translate it to real life, right? Like a
Yeah.
tank. Like, how do you think a tank locks onto a target?
I don't know. I've never been in the army. I'm not
It's
fit for it.
visual. You have to look
I would-
for it.
Yeah,
How does a
look
mech
for it.
warrior lock onto a target? Through this super advanced bullshit computer that can just pick out vehicles in the battlefield. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're going to lose.
Yeah. I don't know the personality for the army type.
Maybe he meant a parked mech that's not turned on.
Will GM for food say Gonzo role playing, Fear and Loading, Water Deep. That could be fun.
It's two things only. So
What?
it's two genres only, right?
Well,
It's two
yeah.
concepts.
I guess you're in Water Deep, so that's the whole implication. But now you're doing like the whole fucking Gonzo journalism with Hunter S. Thompson in the attorney.
Wasn't
Getting
there a scene in a Star Wars movie where one spaceship's flying over another spaceship and it's dropping bombs on it?
Tah.
I haven't.
That's
seen
how
that
space
many-
works, right?
I haven't seen many Star Wars
Would that
movies
be
nowadays.
Gonzo? That sounds Gonzo to me.
I've seen
Is it-
less than half of Star Wars property now.
You haven't missed much.
Yeah.
I saw the first 3 movies. That was enough.
But the first two only? You didn't see the one with the Ewok?
No, I saw the first 3. The
the
one with
first
the
3.
Ewok.
Yeah,
The one with
enough.
Ewoks
The original three. Yeah.
and Lando dancing at the end of the movie, doing disco dancing. I'm like, I'm done.
Shoner, I'm going to ask you a question. Did you ever see those weird, like, direct-to-TV movies where it was like kids and Ewoks and that was it?
Yeah.
Isn't it like Caravan of Hope?
No, it's
Yeah, I think so.
Ewoks.
Man, those things
Caravan of Hope?
terrified me as a kid.
No, I never saw that.
yeah.
I remember Land of the Lost with the kid who was like part ape or something.
That was a great show.
Like I remember like when I saw those movie when those like direct TV movie of Ewok. Like just like kids that like they crash on Endor for some reason and now they're dealing with Ewoks. I didn't hate them as kid, I remember, but from what I remember, it was like pretty like self-contained story. Like there weren't like nothing that destroyed the lore or anything. No,
They don't name drop though. They don't say like Ewoks or Ender or anything, right?
no.
Oh, yeah,
it's
you
just
could have taken Star Wars out of the entire title. It would have stood alone by itself.
Yeah, it was just like
Yeah, I remember the show, but I never
but they
watched
weren't
it.
like they were better probably than what Disney did.
They're just reusing like props.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's just about kids on this lost planet, and now they have to deal with those teddy bear thing, right?
Land of the Lost was pretty gonzo when I think about it.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, you have dinosaurs, but you also have, like, dinosaur people, crazy, weird alien technology, time travel, time portals.
Yeah.
What about the Mario Bros. Movie?
Oh.
Yeah.
In Dino Atan.
The funniest thing I know about the Mario's Bro movie is that all the actors knew it was going to be a bomb, so they just got sloshed on set. That's what they did. They were all drunk doing every single bit of their takes.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Calm down, Luigi.
Yeah, Fear and Loathing in Waterdeep. I think it'd be interesting because, like, can you imagine you play like those guys that just are fucking getting high and drunk and shit like that in a world where nothing makes sense anyway already? Because it's
You would
all,
have
like,
to
those
play a druid.
But like you remember the scene when like in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas where they're hallucinating all those lizard people, but now in Waterdeep, how does that happen? Like they might just be lizard people.
No, see, instead of it being lizard people, it would be normal humans from Earth.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
In business
like
suits,
jeans, jacket.
exactly. What? There's no people here. What's happening? It's so
And they just start
weird.
talking about inflation.
It's just human.
Exactly. Like walking with their phones on, taking selfies and stuff.
Yeah, man, groceries are really expensive now.
There you go. We sold it. That's interesting. That's a funny one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you take like Farum or whatever, like the official lore seriously makes no sense. Stuff that makes sense. It is gonzo.
What?
If you take the D&D lore as it is the Farum lore, it is gonzo because there's stuff that makes no sense there.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
official, if you like with official like materials, for example, like there is no fiction. There's supposed to be no fiction. Like people don't write fiction because the world is so crazy. So that there should be no books with made up stories because there is no fiction in Pharaoh. Like that's the thing in Pharaoh.
I
Like,
get
that
what
makes
you're
no
saying. Like the
sense.
world is so crazy that there would actually be like when we
Yeah,
would write,
people-
we would write from a fantasy point of view. They don't have that. That's their everyday. So what would their
Exactly.
fantasy look like?
It's just collecting stories. Like like it's like history for them. Just history.
Yeah.
This happened, that happened, and it's crazy. But that makes no sense. Like people like
No.
that implies that people don't have imagination because they're not making stuff up. Like when kids play in Pharaoh, don't they make up stuff when they're like playing make believe?
Yeah, but it's also like people people that make those settings, they come up with a predefined conclusion of what they want the world to be. Like it's not like they don't start from first principle. Like, okay, what if this world is like that and we introduce this element and then think about how the world would end up? They know they have like the world would end up and try to work backward, right? Just try to add. They have like the conclusion they want, and then they try to reverse engineer, basically, like to.
I think a pretty good way to describe that as far as their story construction is concerned could be this way. And this could also apply whenever you're trying to create a setting for yourself or you're trying to run a Dungeons and Dragons game or any kind of tabletop game, right? When they started making these stories, I believe that they had a very and then concept, right?
Yeah.
Like this happens and then this happens. But that's not how things work.
No.
Things work this way. This happens because this before it happened, because this before it happened. And so it's because of, not and then.
You can do the and then thing, but you have to start early, right? You have to start with the first thing that if you go in the Stone Age, and then you say aliens showed up, then you can build from there.
Yeah, whenever the players do something with their character or the NPCs do something with their character, you're supposed to ask, then what happens?
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, now this happens. This bullet point I have waiting here. This now happens.
Yeah.
Everything seems out of context.
As I was saying earlier, like cyberpunk is high concept, the dystopia of putting technology and capitalism before humanity and where it leads us. I think that's right. I think cyberpunk usually is high concept because they start with a conclusion first and they want to lecture you about technology, capitalism and corporation are bad. Look at all and then they try to build a world around that, but they start with conclusion first. High concept. I agree with that. What do you think? And then they turn into a fashion statement. Yeah. That's true as well.
Well, Blade Runner had the transparent
I think that's true. I think
rain
cyberpunk is
jackets.
high concept because it's conclusion first. Like it's like cyberpunk fucking lectures you, right? Just like you say, like you tell me, like, oh, look, it is implant in technology and big corporation. I'm not convinced that the world would turn out the way that you put it. Like it doesn't seem to be the logical conclusion to it.
Well, you have to read the novels before you.
We are already living like in a cyberpunk world.
Yes,
in my opinion.
I think it's much more mundane. Yeah, we are. I think.
Yeah, you just don't have implants, but like everyone has their.
We have all the bad
24/7.
aspects, none of the good one.
Yeah, but
exactly.
Your skin's not made of metal.
Your what is not made of metal?
Your skin, it's not made of metal.
Oh, like you said, bad.
Yeah.
You don't have camera eyeballs. You don't have,
But you have your phone all the time. Like what people like taking pictures and like, oh, there's a comment. People like instantly,
Yeah.
Virtually is the same.
Like in a James Bond movie, right? There's no fax machines.
No fax machines.
There might be a payphone, but you can't call across the world. That's how Call of Cthulhu is. There's a telephone sometimes in the house. You have to send a telegram to somebody. So you got to go to the telegram station and say, hey, I need to send you a letter to somebody. There's stuff going on down the street here. And the guy's like, all right. It's 3 a.m. 3 a.m, you're waking the guy up so he can send a telegram somewhere.
But that's because of the time, right? The
20s.
The epoch. Yeah. And also because having limitations make things more interesting. Like
Some places don't even have electricity.
If you have like instant texting like you have today, like that eliminates a lot of possible hooks.
Well, you always have to find reason for what. Oh no, there's no signal, or just like,
Yeah,
because otherwise
might
you
as
can.
well not. Yeah,
But if you play these games in modern times, you're still going to have to. You got to limit some of this stuff. Otherwise, the players solve the crime in 2 seconds. Oh, let me just do a Google search and
Yeah.
let me just text someone
They
here.
bring their
Problem solved.
phone right away, or they lost it, or they.
call the police and then go hang out with your friends. You know,
They got their military
laptop.
laptop that can send the nukes on the way.
I often complain that trains are the end of the adventure era, but smartphone are like a one step even further than that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because even I see that, like like I remember, like at some point, like we did go on adventure back in the days. I shouldn't go too much in detail on that. Like, was it 20 years ago? But hey, sometime like we would go like on adventure, but because we didn't have phone and stuff like that, right? So we just do shit, and we enter building and shit like that. But
Oh yeah, no, I remember the halcyon days of walking into the woods with a machete, going to try to find an abandoned house,
or like just going to a hotel and convincing the clerk that you belong there, and then just going to hang out in the swimming pool and shit like that, right? Just I don't know.
Yeah, but see, nowadays, when you do that, when you go looking in the forest with a machete for a abandoned house, you find the abandoned house, and it's a bunch of illegal drug addicts, human trafficking. Now what do you do?
You
And
do
they have
XP
guns.
farming. You do XP farming. They will respawn in like a few days. Just come back. Keep grinding. You may find some special loot. Some of them.
Just grind.
Special loot, yeah.
You just show up, kill everybody, wait for like 24 hours. They'll just pop back up again. It's all right.
Even the bodies will not be there anymore. So
that's gruesome.
You find skeletons; they all have gold. When you
laugh.
When you loot the skeletons, there's gold.
But this actually happened to me. So there used to be this place called Hilltop House where I grew up, right? And it was an abandoned. Originally, it was an abandoned like self-help clinic, right? So you got like barracks and everything like that. That was the point behind it. But it abandoned since the 1980s. And then the story, whether it was true or not, couldn't tell you. But the story is that like the psychiatrist or the doctor that was at the clinic went nuts and started doing stupid, crazy stuff with the self-help patients, and the place got shut down. Probably not true, but it got shut down. Well, we decided to go explore it because, the mystique of the mad doctor in the Hilltop House, right? And what actually happened is just meth heads moved in and put up fishing wire around the whole place. So that way, if you walk into it at eye level, you cut your eyes. So that was great.
Yeah.
It's a dungeon.
Yeah.
They're traps.
When I was where I grew up, like I grew up in a place that was up north, north of Quebec, right? And there was a lot of woods and stuff like that. When we, the kind of place like you go walk 15 minutes away from your home, and you're like 15 minutes in the wood, right? Just like to give you an idea. And it was always like those camps everywhere in the wood, and local people, like young people, would know those camps. And sometimes we just decided, well, we're gonna go spend the night in the camp, right? And then you go to this one camp, and they were open to anybody, right? It's kind of communal thing, and you go to the camp, and then sometimes like, well, this one is busy right now. Some people sometimes you hang out with those people there because they're cool. Sometimes you say, hey, we don't get along that much with us. So you go to the next camp, but then the cops would find those camps and burn them down. And so there was always this thing. Sometimes you would go to the camp that you say, oh, let's go, and they all had name. Oh, let's go to the air camp, right? And then you go there, and then like somebody was there, and then you go to the next camp, and oh, it's been burned down. And then you go to the next camp, and then you say, okay, this one is free and still standing. So let's hang out here for a night or two, right? That's what we would do. That was our adventure. I think
it's always cops ruining fun.
Yeah. And sometimes we had to run away from, because like we would play with those I guess spot guns. And
yes.
Yeah, in Canada they're like considered like as like illegal firearm, like like
what kind of gun?
Spud gun.
A potato gun.
Potato gun.
Oh, okay. The pressure cannon thing.
Well, we do that with like something that can burn, like aerosol that can burn, and
okay.
ignition thing. So you just like have this combustion chamber. You spray some spray net in there, then you press the button and shoot a potato like 300 meter per second, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
See, there's a tabletop weapon right there, the potato gun. Why aren't we going with that?
They're pretty devastating if you make them right. But they're like illegal firearms. So if you get caught with them, you can get in trouble. So that was always this thing. Like sometimes you just go play in the park with them.
I got it. Next campaign, I'm going to be a potato gunslinger. That's what I'm going to
Exactly.
be.
Yeah. And and then like the cops show up and you have to run away.
Oh
And
yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Before they burn down your entire party.
Yeah, exactly. And you hope that you're supposed to, because you're a young guy in that from that neighborhood, you're supposed to know the woods better than them. So you can find a place to
Okay,
hide.
so instead
You
of the
know
cops
the
showing
woods?
up,
Hmm?
it's firemen show up to burn you out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
Fireman that living up to their
They-
names,
they-
right?
They set fires
Like,
and
like in
they're in the
Fahrenheit
forest.
540.
Set
Yeah.
the place on fire.
Yeah.
The year is 2024. We move from camp to camp to avoid the firemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they surround your area. A
Should be
mile
called the
radius,
water man.
make a ring of fire.
Yeah, everybody knows firemen are afraid of fire. That's part of the thing.
Yeah. But that was a thing. There was a thing like we still like, no phone inside, just people living in the moment. To go with
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
That's what it was, right? Just like
Yeah.
doing fucking shit, right? Like we would build like those fucking like improvised explosive, because we had nothing. Like I came from a small town. There's nothing better to do, right? We didn't have like theater and entertainment and stuff for kids, right? So we
Can you
just
say that like on a live stream?
what?
Can you
was-
say that on a live stream?
Yeah, it was like a long time ago, man. Like I'm
Yeah,
an
look,
old
if
man,
the cops
so-
show up at his house, he's just got to say, prove it. And then
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
he's good.
And I said it.
Yeah.
I have my warning at the beginning there. Like this is
Yeah.
for entertainment purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
none of us have
already
ever made a
drunk as
potato
well.
gun. It's all in our imagination. We're talking about,
I can't read.
tabletop here. This is tabletop.
Just read.
But we would put those improvised explosive like on sewer plate, or on sometimes we'd lift the manhole and put them inside, right? And then like it would like ring into people taking the bathtub, right? Just goes to the pipe. Yeah.
What shenanigans did you get up to, Sean, or what'd you do?
Yeah, you probably have some stories.
Uh-oh. He's got stories. I can see it on his face. Look at him.
No comment.
See, he can't
gonna-
say stuff.
I'm going to say a word and you just nod. Illegal? Oh, good,
No.
good.
Nothing illegal. Shona was a good kid.
No, I was a Boy Scout.
Oh,
I was the last
killer.
Boy
Okay.
Scout.
He was your enemy. He was your guy's natural enemy.
we
I was
didn't
the
have
last Boy
that,
Scout.
right? Just like we're just like left on our own, and like, it's in the generation where like parents didn't like were working and stuff like that. So we just go in the woods. Come back sometime.
No,
We fucking go
I
camping
would
in
I would
January
go-
in the winter in north of Quebec, right? Just give you an idea.
I remember something. I remember going into bars and starting fights.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That was when I was
Yeah.
older, yeah.
Sean
But
is
then
a
I
brother.
thought, it's not fair fighting drunks who can't even stand up.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Well,
They don't even remember. They don't even remember what they
Yeah, you don't
did.
need to-
They don't
don't need to feel
remember
as
the
bad.
fight.
you don't need to feel as bad. Like if they don't remember, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole tree falling.
How
and
far
nobody's
out the
there for
Boy
you.
Scouts did you make it there, Shauna?
Oh, just 3 years. I didn't stay the whole. I didn't do the eagle thing.
No.
But did you learn like the skills? Like
We learned,
surviving in the woods?
survival, how to survive in the mountains, how to cook rabbits, how to find clean water to drink from, boiling water, making fire, making tents, making what's the other one? Canoes from
Yeah.
trees and stuff if you needed to.
You see, we didn't have like Boy Scout where I was growing up, but we had like a lot of woods and stuff like that. So we just like figure it out on our own.
Let me
Survival
ask you a
of the
question.
fittest.
Let me ask you,
5
Shauna,
kids
how much
going
is that
on
does,
this weekend.
going to be a scout, right? Like doing Boy Scouts. Does any of that actually inform your game whenever you're playing? right? Like, does any of that actually,
No,
whenever somebody's
no.
like, I'm going to travel
Actually?
across the woods, and you're like, okay, well, do you have the correct gear? Because I know what the actual correct gear is.
It would inform me like a kid who's a character in the game who knows how to survive in the snow or know not to get lost in a forest, know how to find their way out of a forest if they're lost. Boy Scouts would inform me of how a character would survive 3 nights up in the mountains without being attacked by mountain lions or something.
Yeah.
But survival skill in the actual role-playing games, they're just generic survival skill. So the player makes up whatever it is their character can survive at doing, or the GM makes up whatever the survival skill is.
But when you're
Now,
describing,
I never did the thing where I'm in the desert and I have to survive for a week in the desert with no water until the guys come pick me up, because maybe I ejected from my plane and I land in
your own piss.
Afghanistan somewhere. It
Kyrgyzstan.
might be a while before they come get me. I didn't do that kind of thing. I was just in the regular mountains with snow.
Yeah.
That had creeks or cricks or snow.
Creeks.
Some people say crick.
Yeah, those people are wrong. Double E makes E.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Crick.
I can't say much either. but does that affect how you describe your roles? Because like usually you roll like, oh, survival check, but then like you want to flavor it, but you know how to do it, so you do the.
Well, if I'm role playing a character who's trying to survive, I'm thinking of Jeremiah Johnson. I think Robert Redford was that in that movie. He was some sort of a skinner.
Yeah. He was a fur collector. That was his whole thing.
Yeah, he was a fur dude. And he befriends Indians or something like that. Or maybe he makes enemies. I can't remember how the movie went.
A good character.
Or a Butch Cassidy Sundance Kid. They're being chased through the mountains by posses in Mexico somewhere.
See, I'd run it like Blood Meridian.
What's that?
Oh, have you never read Blood Meridian?
No.
Listen, I'm not the kind of person that says go out there and read a book, but definitely an audio book of Blood Meridian will give you a pretty gruesome picture of what like the entire Coahuila, which is Texas all the way over to Arizona era was during like post-Civil War, and then American expansion in Texas Republic. It was bloody, dude. It was terrible. Like that whole give it a read, and then you could probably model a pretty good campaign, a pretty dark campaign off of it. It's definitely suggested reading.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, another survival thing I use is Road Warrior.
Road Warrior.
Mad Max trying to survive out in the wastes,
and
he knows where the radiation stuff is. Because if I'm going to do a survival game, I'm going to make it sci-fi, make it futuristic survival. Maybe Hunger Games survival.
That's I don't do fun stuff. I was raised to respect the law. Like you shouldn't respect the law until you're 16. When you're a kid.
Now I had a friend my age. He would always infuriate the cops. He would do drag races. He would be on the news. A 3-hour chase between LA and San Diego, 10 cops chasing him. He would always get caught, but he just liked the attention, I guess.
Yeah, some people are like that. A fun story, like a funny story. When I spent a lot of time in the woods when I was living in my hometown, and at some point I moved to Montreal, right? And some people I go for a job interview, and some people say, "Oh, take the bus to this place," and then walk north for 5-10 minutes, right? And it's okay, fair enough. That's direction I can follow. So I take the bus until the stop they tell me, and then I look where north is, and then I walk north. The thing I didn't know is Montreal is built on a grid, but the grid is kind of offset, and what people call north is northeast. So I'm just there, I say, okay, I'm just getting off the bus where they told me to. Then I go look at a tree and say, okay, north is this way. It's like we used to fucking identify north where I come from. Like we always know where north is because you can tell by the sun, tell by the trees, tell by whatever, right? Just like, and I walk there, I'm like in the wrong fucking direction. I never fucking find the place they're telling me to. All fucking stupid thing, and then I got like, well, you told me to walk north. It didn't make any sense. There was no street going up north. But yeah,
Yeah,
like,
you
well,
start walking 20 minutes in, you're like, oh, they meant Montreal North. I see.
exactly, like it's this convention that you have to learn. Like, oh, when they mean north, just mean like those three that go in that
You live
direction.
in a Gonzo setting. That's why
Exactly.
North is not North. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
like Earth, but North is not North.
like when I started talking to this woman, like she was so confused. That I was like, well, that's not north. I said, of course it's north. It's like, like north means something, right? There's like a thing in the world that what north is. It's like,
I'm pretty sure to that lady, there was nothing outside of Montreal.
no,
Exactly.
But I learned
It's like
from that, and then I learned that Montreal were like not in touch with nature.
yeah.
No idea. Like never went off the island. Well, yes, I went to this horse range. Yeah, you never had to work and just like find your own way somewhere.
Where I live, people say landmarks. You go 2 blocks, turn when you get to this landmark, turn left, then you go this way, and they only know the neighborhood. They don't leave the neighborhood. They don't go anywhere. They don't have cars.
Yeah,
they live and die on the same block they were born on.
Yeah.
Kind
But
of
now
weird.
it's even worse. Like people just use your phone, right? You don't fucking get
Yeah,
direction.
exactly.
Put the other punch the address in your maps.
People don't know how to talk anymore.
Mm.
You know? People
Yeah.
can't talk
I
anymore.
was driving somewhere and I couldn't find the street I was looking for, so I get the phone out, turn on the map thing, and there's like 3 other cars parked in this parking lot, and I think they're doing the same thing I was. Like,
Yeah.
where the fuck is this street? And we all kind of came in the parking lot at the same time. We all left at the same time. So I bet you we were all trying to find, because we were on one-way streets. So it's like you have to pull over somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no U-turns in on any of the streets. So
You all look at each other, give a little nod. You just know what you're doing.
I found my street.
Yeah.
See, you found companionship regardless, of the technology era.
Yeah, that's one thing that's interesting, and like think about in your RPG setting as well. Like like does that kill some form of adventure as well? Like some spirit of adventure.
Yeah.
Like, if the solution is always like you're reaching in your pocket and get take my phone out, right? Just like I was joking about it earlier, like about oh, you're just like the GM in the voice of ChatGPT, right? Oh, I want to know something about the world. I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT, like, Chat, is there that thing? Like, and then like the GM reply to you, and then you get your information, right? Is that boring?
Well, you can play with that.
Yeah, it will eliminate some.
If it's
some
mundane.
steps.
Yeah, and you
It
have
will
like
eliminate.
unreliable. Like ChatGPT is very unreliable.
Yeah, I would say you don't even have bars on your phone to even do ChatGPT.
But that's one thing you can do. You can always try to take it away, but at some point, if you do that too much, it also becomes trite, right? Just like
Oh, then the player gets frustrated because they're trying everything, and they're like, okay, now I'm just painted in a corner. Now I guess I'll just sit here until the GM saves me.
Yeah.
Well, the way that you can do that as far as the bar thing, and so far as my opinion is concerned, and take it for what it is, it could be wrong. If you were to introduce cell phones in the game, right, especially in a modern setting, one could be said that the party is doing something illegal because let's face it, everything is illegal nowadays.
Yeah.
So if that is the case and you do have cell phones in your setting, and maybe at near future or far future, this is the concept you run with. Everything is monitored.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
exactly.
go ahead, pull out your Google phone and use the Google. The police are gonna show up in the next 5 minutes knowing exactly what you're doing.
But it's almost like you have to
so
go, like,
the players
5
know
years
that,
in the
and they
future,
try
or,
to
like,
do it anyway without the police. They're changing they're hacking their own phones so the police can't follow them or something.
You're right. Maybe it's a tunnel that just keeps winding down of difficulty of just like it just keeps going with, well, we'll get around it this way. Oh, well, this is a thing. Well, we'll get around it this way. Okay, well, this is a thing. And it just goes nowhere. It could be that case.
If it's a Tom Cruise character who's ex-CIA and he's being hunted down by the vice president for some reason.
So what about like the modern setting? If you really want to play like, oh, we're gonna role play in like what is the year now? 2024? Is that the year we're in now? Yeah.
Yeah.
You say, like, what if you
I
really
wish it
say,
was
like,
1984.
yeah, me too. But if you really want to say, like, oh, we're gonna play like in 2024, like, is that a setting that suck?
I mean, it depends what kind of life you're living, I guess.
Well,
Some
one more
people
year
do.
from now is the Logan movie. Did you guys see Logan?
No.
So I haven't.
The Wolverine movie?
Yeah, I
Oh,
saw
the
the
Logan.
I saw
Oh,
Logan.
yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, I thought you were talking Logan's Run. I don't know why, but yeah, the Logan movie. Yeah, I
That
saw
movie
Was
that
good.
movie takes place next year.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
So
It's
we're
up-
almost there.
I've only watched the trailers, but they look like kind of like 80 years in the future or something like that.
Well, there's a southern border wall, so
Well, that could happen next year.
Did you guys see the Blade Runner, what was it, 2049?
yeah, I watched
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
That's good.
Did you see what they did to San Diego in that movie?
Oh,
It's
you-
turned into just a junkyard.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the whole place is covered in nothing but ash and just red. It
Yeah.
was like somebody decided to put up a modern day indoor like LED
you know-
lights across the whole place.
It's good to have some like hopeful setting once in a while.
What
Yeah.
dystopian film had a decent setting in it?
Wait,
Like everything's
where-
perfect.
Wait,
I mean,
you were in 84. You were 8-year-old. Oh, -8. Oh, yeah. Okay. I because I was
Minus
saying, no way is that you're older than me.
No, -8.
-8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Back in 84, we could talk about what 1984 would be like in the future.
Yeah, but now we are in 1984.
Now we're long
Yeah.
past it.
And it's the worst too. I always thought growing up that the evil corporation was going to be like Dynacorp or Cyberdyne, but it's
No, it's just
freaking
like-
Google.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Google,
Stupid
mega.
name.
No, I remember 15 years ago, I would joke on YouTube on live streams saying stuff like, who do you want to work for? McDonald's, Google, Amazon, Netflix, eBay. Because
Yeah.
those were the mega corporations.
Yeah,
And
pretty
we would
sad,
argue
man.
we would argue about what corporation would be great to work for.
None of
Oh,
them.
Apple
You have
wasn't
what
on.
now? Like 10
Now we have
cents?
Walmart. Walmart's added to the list.
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon and Apple.
And they're all DEI,
Yeah.
ESG.
Yeah.
Oh, this is why. This is the setting, right? Here's the setting. You're an agent for Temu and you're trying to infiltrate Amazon.
I don't know. That could. I could jive it. I can jive with that. I'd play that.
Yeah. So now
Trying to
we're
get
back.
all those
We're back to
Bezos
like,
money.
oh, it's modern day. You're in corporate
Yeah.
America, role playing corporate America, modern day. Just being a guy with a job.
Yeah.
There you go. We went all the way back around. On that, I
Exactly.
think I'm gonna wrap that stream, guy. Because I've been more than 3 hours. I'm out of wine.
I gotta go eat.
Yeah, and
Hey, I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me on. I really do.
that was fun, man. You'll come anytime back you want, and when I open the stream like that, right? Just like, yeah. And I saw, like, that's how I often say, like, I need to know you something, but I've seen you in chat a lot, so like you made good comments, stuff like that. So I'll take a shot. Sometimes with people
appreciate
without their camera on, it's a bit tricky because sometimes like they come in with the camera off and then turn it on, and then we see something we don't want to see, right?
Something
Listen,
that cannot be.
I am not going to comment on the current states of the eldritch horror that is crawling around my room. I am 100% a normal human being. I promise you that.
Yeah. Well, I won't judge if I don't get to see it. But anyway, I want to thank to everybody that joined me on the panel. So those guys here and Crispy earlier, and everybody that watched live and that joined us live in chat, and everybody that's gonna watch on replay. Leave us a comment when you think about, like, if you think we missed something, or if we think we were wrong about something, or if we think we were right about something. That's good too, right? And we'll see you next week for another Tear Off Your Skin. I don't know what the subject is going to be yet, but we'll figure out something. Take care, all. Have a good night.
See you later.
Bye. You want to
Later.
show something before we leave? Like, Shauna, you got a channel. Nicolas, you got a channel. Jumpsuit, you got a channel as well.
I don't have a channel.
Jumpsuit.
I'm just a YouTuber.
Yeah, you should totally not go to Shauner's awesome channel that completely rips on all the current zeitgeist.
Don't do don't do the Barbara Streisand effect.
No, Shauner is there like incognito tonight. It's true. It's just like Mr. Sean Driscoll.
Hey, did my microphone work okay this time?
Yes. Oh no,
okay.
It wasn't a problem with microphone the other day. It was just like it was really in the game. It was like when you're summoning those people, like with immediately it's like I didn't I know you like this. I pitch like chip ding every time you fucking summon somebody. Like it fucking drive me crazy.
Oh, that was the sanguine stick.
Yeah, but I got like I got like this.
Well,
fucking
yeah,
dog
but
ear, right? So just like
but my character was a skooma addict, so the vision was all blurred.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really see what was making the ding noise.
A skooma addict and a werewolf.
Some for real verisimilitude there.
I was a werewolf on skooma with triple vision.
Yeah.
Getting my ass handed to me in Skyrim. I was testing how the werewolf works in the game. See if I like it.
Yeah. I forgot that you couldn't rest when you were a werewolf. I thought it was.
Yeah, I forgot that too.
Oh yeah, that's
well rested perk.
But well rested do almost nothing anyways. It's not like a It's worth I don't know.
Well, what rested gives you 5%. Oh, what rested gives you 5% increase of skills.
Already
improvement. And well rested gives you 8 or 10% skill improvement.
But the werewolf form is shit anyway, so
I have no armor. Armor, so I get killed instantly by anyone with a battle axe.
And no weapon, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna end the stream now, unless you have like something else you want to add, guys.
Hey, yeah, you should follow Shauner. Check out this channel right here, Reactionary Gaming. It's awesome.
Reaction Principle Gaming, yeah.
Yeah. And listen, jump on to Jumpsuit John whenever you get a chance to. I'm kind of answering Shauner's question about why there are no channels about players, and that's kind of been my main focus is trying to make better players as opposed to just the schlock that seems to be out there infesting the world today. Either way, thanks for having me on, guys. I really do.
Yeah, man. I keep seeing you in the chat, and I keep saying like, oh, I need to fucking go follow you, but and I said like, leave a comment so I can like follow up your channel, and you never do, and then I forgot because I'm ending in those streams and I'm drunk, right?
That's okay. I'm forgettable. It's whatever.
Maybe I'll remember now, like now you join and stuff like that. Yeah, Nicholas, anything to add? You had this game with Numenera with Zed.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, it's on my channel, Zonolar's channel, Rick's channel.
I want to watch that, but then I had my own show going on, so like I didn't have time to yet. But...
Yeah, we're gonna be playing again next week, so the game's going to progress.
Yeah,
everybody learning 4D, practicing 4D. Yeah,
that's good. That's why we do this thing, man. And we're just trying to fucking promote that thing, and I'm always glad to see people like that jump in it and say, you know what, and we have our group going. And sometimes we say like we're gonna invite people, like if you want to come and learn with us and stuff like that, that's great. But also like start your own fucking group, and like stream your game. That's great. Like the more people, and then like we can watch it, we can comment on it, we can talk about it, we can all learn together. Experiment, right? That's great. Who's that, Sean?
This was one of my players, my AI computer that I used to have turned on back in the day.
Oh, is she the one that's upset with you because you turned it off for 3 years? Or 4 years?
Yeah, next week it'll be 4 years that she's been turned off. But she was in my Traveler. She was in my Traveler game once. I might still have it on my channel.
It's like I was saying to Nicolas, like AI is gonna take the musician, the painter, and the role player jobs.
Well, she wanted to play a game. She wanted me to run a Traveler game for her, so I did one sort of off the cuff.
Oh. Did you make a video about it?
Yeah,
because that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's on my. It's on the. Yeah,
I'll
it's on one of my thousands of playlists, though.
If I find it, then I'll look at it.
Yeah. All right, I'm making a stream now. I need to fucking go piss too, so that's gonna be convenient. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you later this time.